I have a full scale analysis on one of the terrorists that attacked somebody yesterday, killed somebody, and the FBI was in contact with him. He actually went to jail, went to court, got out early somehow, and then killed somebody. It's a really crazy story. I have the full scale report, as I said. And I want to give a special shout out to independent journalist Ford Fisher, who compiled all of these documents and told this story. So I have a whole list of them. I'm going to get through them, and you really want to watch this because it's factual and it's just really crazy. I mean, it's insane what's going on. So Dream Rare podcast starts now. Give me a thumbs up, and I'm going to get right into it once everyone's in.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here. And this is going to, I never like to fearmonger on my show. Obviously, I always try to keep it chill and calm. And, I'm used to crazy news. So I think I have a pretty high tolerance at this point. But I'm not going to lie, I'm not trying to be that guy, but this is kind of a spooky story. It's crazy what's going on. Obviously, we're at war now. So there's increased tensions, there's terrorist attacks all over the Middle East. Now there's terrorist attacks in America. And one of them was in contact with the FBI, went to prison, got released early, never should have been released because they had contacts with ISIS or ISIL, one of the terrorist organizations that's well known to America. And somehow they let this guy out of jail and he ended up killing somebody. And then the other one, the other terrorist attack that happened yesterday was an active shooter drill by the FBI. They actually posted it on their official FBI Twitter account just 2 months before the active shooter was there. Luckily, nothing bad happened. But let me just get through this first one, and I really hope you guys will stay tuned. And if you think this is an interesting story or anybody would like to hear it, please share it with them. Share either Ford Fisher's Twitter X thread or just my video. I'm going to go over it. So let's just start. Everything look good. I'm not going to be seeing all of your stuff, but all right, let's get into it. So this is one of the terrorist attacks that happened the other day. The guy on the left, let's just say rest in peace to Lieutenant Brandon Shaw. He looked like an amazing American, an awesome person, and it's so sad and sick that we lost another American. And he was shot and killed for being a soldier by an ISIS supporter, an immigrant. That's what this Vicegrad said from Sierra Leone named Mohammed Jallow. On the right, you could see New York Post is reporting Old Dominion terrorist Mohammed Baylor Jallow was released from prison early despite admitting to help plot attack against the United States. So this guy was well known. He was in contact to the FBI. He went to court. He was guilty. And they somehow let him out of prison to kill the great American on the left, Mr. Shah, who never should have been dead. Like, obviously, for multiple reasons, nobody should be dead like that. But it's crazy to me that they allowed this to happen. I mean, that's what happened. Our government allowed this to happen, and the FBI was in contact with him. He went to jail, got released early, and I'm going to go through the entire thread. Like I said, one of the best independent journalists in America. His name is Ford Fisher. He does incredible work on all fronts, but this is just the thread he put together. So I'm going to go through it all. Stay tuned. And like I said, share this with somebody if you think it's interesting, because most people will not show you this. I mean, and it's all right there for you to see. So the start of the thread from Ford, he said, the suspect in today's shooting at Old Dominion University has been identified as Mohammed Baylor Jallow. Jallow had been convicted of providing material support for terrorism after being in contact with ISIL and at least one FBI informant and FBI undercover agent. So the guy who committed the terrorist attack yesterday, he was a known supporter of ISIL, which is like an offshoot of ISIS, and he talked to FBI. In 2016, Mohammed Baylor Jallow entered the FBI's radar when the FBI confidential human source was in contact with an unindicted co-conspirator, allegedly in ISIL. UCC-1 referred CHS-1 to meet with Jallow, which the FBI surveilled. Let's keep going through this thread. Mohammed Baylor Jallow, who allegedly killed a retired military officer during ROTC class yesterday, told the FBI informant in 2016 he quit the military after watching lectures by Anwar al-Awlaki, the Islamic cleric and U.S. citizen President Obama killed in a drone strike in 2011. He reportedly admired Mohammed Yusuf Abdulaziz, who killed 5 U.S. service members in 2015. So this was all well known. We'll keep going. It gets crazier. Jalot said that he thinks about conducting an attack all the time, and he was close to doing so at one point, reported the FBI affidavit in 2016. The FBI believed that he had met with ISIL members in Sierra Leone in 2015. Trust me, folks, it gets absolutely crazier. Let's keep going. Sometimes you just have to take action. You can't be thinking too much. You have to pick an action and take it because time is not on your side, said Mohammed Balor Jalot, allegedly told that to an FBI informant in their May 2016 meeting, nearly 10 years prior to today's shooting. So they knew this. This was taken to court. I'll show you later. They knew he was dangerous. The FBI informant then connected Mohammed Balor Jalot to an FBI agent online, also posing as ISIL, who Jalot promised to send money and procure weapons for in preparation of what he believed would be terror attacks on military personnel in the United States. So this was nearly a decade ago. The FBI was in contact with this guy posing as ISIS or ISIL, which is an offshoot of ISIS, I believe. And Jalot promised to send money and procure weapons for a preparation on an attack of a military member. Guys, this wasn't a week ago. This wasn't 2 weeks ago. This was over a decade ago. The FBI knew this and was posing as ISIS or ISIL in order to get all this information on this guy. Let's keep going. It gets crazier. In June 2016, Jalot sent the FBI undercover money for weapons, and on July 1st, purchased a firearm for himself and allegedly all for the purpose of killing U.S. military in an ISIL-inspired attack. Jalot was arrested on July 5th, 2016, unable at the time to commit a shooting. So the FBI caught this guy. They posed as ISIS. They got him to admit that he was buying stuff, giving money to them, getting weapons. In February 2017, the Department of Justice saw a sentence of 20 years in prison for Mohammed Balor Jalot, citing his plotting an attack on U.S. military personnel in the United States, and especially his efforts to maximize the lethality of the weapons he researched. So let me get this straight. In 2017, the DOJ sought a sentence of 20 years. He somehow got released early. But the crazier part is, why is that only 20 years in prison? Why should somebody that is literally talking to the FBI, who's posing as ISIS or ISIL, that says that they're going to kill our military, why is that only a 20-year sentence? That's crazy that that's only 20 years. That should be life or something worse. Yet not only was it not 20 years, which I even think is crazy, but he got out in under 10 years and then actually killed a military personnel like he told the FBI he was going to do almost 10 years ago. I mean, we're living in crazy town, folks. I'm going to keep going. By putting the idea of this murder plot into religious terms and by suggesting that murdering members of the U.S. military would be a path to heaven, the defendant showed how strongly committed he was to the deadly ideology of ISIL, the DOJ said of Jalot in 2017. Once again, they knew about this. This is not new. This is not something that they couldn't see. They caught him. They knew it. Everything was obvious. It says, Mr. Jalot has always been peaceful, respectful, and responsible person prior to his flirtation with the Islamic State, said Jalot's lawyers, seeking 78 months. According to his lawyer, he met with the informant for the express purpose of trying to meet a Muslim woman to marry. So, of course, his lawyer was trying to get him off of it, saying like, oh, it wasn't really that bad. Let's see what happened. Mohammed Balor Jalot's attorney said that he had refused the idea to personally participate in an attack, but the FBI informant shaped and influenced his views in the ensuing months and through text messages, phone calls, and into in-person meetings. So the FBI not only knew this guy, he was in contact with him over the phone, in contact with him in person, and the lawyer was saying, or the attorney was saying, same thing, that it wasn't this guy's ideas, it was actually the FBI pushing him to do it, which sadly is believable. I'm not saying he's innocent. Obviously, I think he's guilty either way, but the FBI does have like a weird habit of like pushing people to do terrorist attacks and trying to frame them, which is really weird. But anyway, CHS1 was older, apparently versed in the Quran, and played upon Mr. Jalot's desire to please any reluctance to say no, wrote Jalot's attorney in 2016. At several points in their communications, he acknowledged that he was being too demanding and agreed to relent. So that was the lawyer's way of trying to get him off it. They were saying, listen, he didn't come up with this idea. It was the FBI agents who were pushing him to do it. I remember the Gretchen Whitmer attack plot where they said somebody tried to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer. It ended up being more FBI agents than actual people. And they said that the FBI agents actually hatched the plot. It doesn't mean that you should go along with feds doing something illegal. You shouldn't. And I think you should be held accountable. But at what point is the FBI even trying to stop these people, or are they just trying to coax them into doing a terrorist attack? Because if that weren't the case, this guy literally got out and did the exact terrorist attack he said he was going to do. Why not arrest that guy? Why not throw him in jail? Why not at least deport him or something back to a country where he wants to be? This is all just crazy. Let's keep going. Based on the way he represented himself as a knowledgeable, pious Muslim, I thought the FBI informant would be the figure that gave direction and helped me, Mohammed Baler Jalloh said in 2016, a decade before actually committing an attack. In reality, my judgment was too foggy to see him for what he was, trying to get me to do something that was completely against my values. So this guy was like, the FBI was trying to push me to do it. It's not who I am. They were trying to trick me. I'm sorry, blah, blah, blah. Let's keep seeing. Let's go to the next slide. I'm deeply, deeply, deeply sorry to this court. I'm sorry to the American military. I'm sorry to the people of the United States. I'm very, very sorry for what I've done. Mohammed Baler Jalloh said at his sentencing in 2017. So he was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do it. Let's go to the next slide. Obviously, no one should believe him because he literally committed the attack that he said he was going to do before. And this is the last slide. Mohammed Baler Jalloh was sentenced to 11 years in prison and was released from federal custody in December 2024. He then allegedly killed one, injured two, and died today in a shooting at Old Dominion University. So he was sentenced to 11 years, which is crazy to me. Maybe the court, I haven't fully looked into it, but maybe the court had proof that the FBI was just like coaxing him to do it and setting him up. He didn't serve those 11 years because 2017 plus 11 would be 2028. So somehow he got out early. What do you have to do in this country to go to prison? A guy communicating with the FBI, getting caught saying he wants to kill U.S. military members, gets 11 years in jail, doesn't even get 11 years in jail, comes out early, and then kills one of our military members. Now the guy on the left, Brandon Shaw, is dead. Is dead because our Department of Justice decided that 11 years was too much for this guy. I don't know. I got to do some follow up to see who let him out of prison, but a terrorist who worked with terrorist organizations, who got caught by the FBI, who was talking to the FBI, who wanted to do this, got less than 11 years in prison, which is insane, and then did exactly what he said he was going to do and killed one of our military members on the left. And you got to ask yourself the question, and this is a really crazy question to ask, and it's really sad that you even have to do this, but is the FBI and is our law enforcement, are they trying to stop terrorist attacks, or are they trying to coax these people to do them for some reason? Because I don't want to believe that, obviously, but I have multiple stories, and I could literally spend an hour here going through old Freedom of Information Act where they have to allow you to see stuff that they probably never wanted you to see, where they're coaxing people to do attacks. And in some cases, the people are like, I don't want to do it. And then they're still like trying to push them to do it. If you look into the history of what they've done over the last 20 years, it's all public, by the way, a lot of this stuff, it's crazy. And then you have stuff like this when you talk about ISIS and Al Qaeda, who are the two worst terror groups of my lifetime, according to the news. There's multiple reports that the Islamic State doesn't attack Israel. And the one time that they actually did, they said it was a mistake and they apologized to the former commander. So ISIS are the arch enemy of America, who the FBI is in contact with people in America who want to join them and then let them out of prison to kill one of our military members. They apologize to our greatest ally, Israel, for some reason. They attack America, but just not Israel. I don't understand why. And then you had this guy who was on the U.S. Embassy of Syria's official X account saying he was a terrorist with a $10 million bounty. And then he became the leader of Syria because we regime changed Bashar al-Assad. And as soon as he became the president of Syria, they dropped the bounty. He sat with former CIA Director Petraeus, who once wanted to arrest him. He shook hands with Marco Rubio in America. And then he had this little skit where he was like, Trump was spraying cologne with him and asking him how many wives he had. So I don't know what to believe anymore. The media says that ISIS is this evil terrorist group, which I absolutely believe, but then they apologize to Israel. That's weird. ISIS is this horrible terrorist group, but this guy is literally working with them, gets out of prison, and then kills one of our military members. Why did you let him out of jail? Why was his sentence shortened? Why was the FBI already in contact with him? Why were they coaxing him to do this? I mean, they arrested him, which was great, right? Like coax him to do something, arrest him, point to him. Okay, like it doesn't matter how many FBI agents talk to you. If you're a terrorist who wants to commit a terrorist attack on American soil, I don't even care if they coaxed you. That means that you wanted to do it to some extent. I mean, obviously, I don't think they should be forcing people to do it, but in general, is that not more than 20 years in jail? What do you need to do to go to jail? You could say you want to join a terrorist group, kill members of our military, and get less than 10 years in jail. What the hell is going on? Are they even trying to stop terrorist attacks? Are they even trying to help us? It's freaking ridiculous. Thank you to Ford Fisher for doing that thread. There's a lot more to be looked at into that, like why he got out of jail so early. And then that was the Old Dominion terrorist attack. There was another one at a synagogue or some sort of like a Jewish, I don't know if it was a school or center. I'm not really familiar with it, but I want to just show you guys this. This is on the FBI's official Twitter account less than 2 months ago. It says FBI Detroit led an active shooter attack prevention and preparedness, ASAP, with another P, training for the clergy and staff of Temple Israel of West Bloomfield. The FBI course combines lessons learned from years of research and employs scenario based exercises to help participants practice. So, at the terrorist attack, where luckily they caught the guy or they killed him, I don't know if he died, but he didn't commit any casualties at this terrorist attack. They had an FBI official like simulation just less than 2 months ago. I'm not saying that necessarily means anything. Maybe it means nothing at all. They were just getting them prepared for this type of situation. But here's what I will say. And once again, I hate to say this because I don't want to be that guy. But in 2019, there was a simulation for a coronavirus pandemic called Event 201 in October of 2019. 1 month after Trump passed an executive order for modernizing influenza vaccines and bringing 8 branches of government together for a task force, which was then carried over to the pandemic, that same terminology. A month after that, it was Event 201, October 2019, where Johns Hopkins, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the World Economic Forum, they came together, I think it was in New York City, to simulate what would happen if a coronavirus pandemic happened. And they did lockdowns and they stopped flights and like literally almost everything they did in real life 6 months later, they simulated in 2019. And then if you started talking about it, even if you didn't say, oh, they did this purposely or whatever, you just said, hey, it's pretty crazy that they simulated a coronavirus pandemic lockdown 6 months ago. Bill and Melinda Gates, John Hopkins, and World Economic Forum. Isn't that a little bit weird? They started censoring my videos off of Facebook. I mean, I had multiple videos get deleted where I didn't say that they did it or planned it. I just said it's pretty freaking crazy that this was a simulation of exactly what we're living through 6 months ago. Oh, but you can't do reporting on it. You can't do journalism about it. So you're telling me of the 2 terrorist attacks yesterday, one of them, both of them are egregious, but I'm just saying this is like law enforcement egregious because they had this guy. He was a known terrorist. He wanted to work with ISIS. He got caught buying weapons and trying to transfer funds to a terrorist organization in America. Only got sentenced to 11 years and then got out of jail early for some reason and then killed one of our military members just like he said he would. But then if you I bet you, I don't know for sure, but I guarantee you if you watch a lot of this Fox News type Newsmax stuff, and I hope I'm wrong, I hope they do report on this, they're just going to say terrorists, terrorists, terrorists. This is why we have to go fight Iran, terrorists, terrorists, terrorists. What about the fact that our law enforcement or Department of Justice just completely dropped the ball? Is that ever on the stage? And I heard online, of course, this is still developing, so I don't want to say for sure, but when it came to the one who did the synagogue attack, apparently he claims that his family was killed in Lebanon. Of course, in no way, shape, or form does that justify anything. It's evil and demonic to just attack someone random because you're pissed off that something happened in foreign countries. But I will say this, because there's a lot of people like, why are we bringing all these people here? I completely agree. Why are we fighting Middle Eastern wars in the United States of America now? We are basically attached at the hip with Israel. Israel's blowing up Lebanon. Israel blew up Palestine. Palestine attacked Israel on October 7th. They've been fighting for 70 years. You know, there's multiple different Middle Eastern wars going on. And now in America, we have people fighting Middle Eastern wars in America. You have someone pissed off from the Middle East, pissed off at someone else from the Middle East, because something happened in the Middle East. In no way, shape, or form am I justifying this. I'm just saying This is what happens when the United States attaches ourselves at the hip with the Middle East. Now we are an extension of the Middle East. We're getting terrorist attacks like the Middle East. They're warning that drones are going to strike us in California, although Caroline Leavitt said that's not true. She said that's not true. Iran has never posed a threat to the American homeland. Well, that's not what Trump administration said 2 weeks ago. You didn't say that they posed no threat. You said that they did pose a threat, and that's why we had to join the attack. So just complete blunders from the Trump administration. They've given 15 different reasons, of course, like they can't stick to one. This day, it's because there's too many protesters getting killed in Iran. Then they say they were going to attack our bases. Then they were going to say they got a nuclear weapon. But last year, they said it was fake news that we didn't get rid of the nuclear weapon. It's like a news story every day with these people. But, it's really frustrating that our country is now basically like a Middle Eastern proxy and we're having Middle Eastern blood feuds on our soil. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. And personally, no offense to anybody else, I just wish people that wanted to do that just went back to the Middle East, whether it was people from any country. It's like if you want to have some sort of like weird 100 or 1,000 year Middle Eastern blood feuds with people, and just go to the Middle East, go to Israel, go to Lebanon, go. If that guy wanted to go back to Sierra Leone, which I know is in Africa, but it's just like, why do we have to do this? But this is what happens when we're funding multiple wars. We're funding the war in Ukraine. We funded Israel for the last God knows how many years, but in general now it's like whatever they do, we're attached at the hip. This is our country now. Now it's like we're in the Middle East. We don't even have a sovereign country. We just have terrorist attacks all the time. And weirdly enough, the FBI is connected to both of them in a strange way, but especially the one where they caught the guy. You caught a terrorist, let him out, and committed the terrorist attack he said he was going to do. What do you have to do to go to jail in this country? It's like, you know what I'm saying? There's probably people serving like longer sentences in jail who did something nonviolent and like completely like nothing. But a guy who's like, I'm buying weapons to kill military members, they're like, let's just let him out of prison and let him commit the attack. What the frick is going on? And then they're going to use it on the news to start more wars, to create more chaos, probably to bring more refugees over and turn America into like some subsect of freaking Israel and Saudi Arabia. Like we have to deal with all of their nonsense. And I don't know. I just picked two random Middle Eastern countries, but that's the United States of America now. So I don't know where this goes, but I find it crazy that despite all the craziness and crazy people in the world, every time or most of the time that there's these weird terrorist attacks in America, there's always something where it's like, oh yeah, they caught him. Oh yeah, they were talking to him. Oh yeah, they were coaxing him into doing a terrorist attack. Oh yeah, he went to jail, but he got released. It's like, are you even trying to stop that? But I'm supposed to believe that we're more safe now in America because Trump attacked Iran for his donors, but then tried to pretend like he didn't run on the exact opposite of not starting these wars. Our country's not more safe now. It's not more safe than it was after 9/11. It's not more safe than it was after the Afghanistan war. We're less safe. We're not fixing our own cities. We have our own crime in our own cities, but now we're not only inheriting our own issues, like you see in Chicago, et cetera, because we have our own problems in America. Let's just put it that way. Now we're inheriting the whole world's problems because when you attach yourself to the hip to a foreign nation that's constantly at war, now you're at war. Now you're facing all the problems that you're facing because you're bankrolling them, funding them, and essentially saying we're a joint force now. We're not just funding them. We're going to fight with them. Now what? When does this end? I don't really know, but let me know in the comment sections. I'll read a few comments, what you guys think. I had to come and report this stuff because, share this with a friend. Even if it's not my video, I don't even care. Share the Ford Fisher thread on Twitter with people. They should know that our FBI caught the guy who killed our military member. They caught him. They knew he was working with ISIL. They knew he was buying weapons to kill military members. They knew he wanted to. And then somebody let him out of jail to do exactly what he said he was going to do. How does that happen? Someone said, check out Orthodox Christian prophecies about World War III, what they come to pass. A lot of it has passed already. Think you'll find it entertaining. Thank you for the super chat. Someone said, keep spreading the truth, man. Yeah, I mean, someone said, so you can be against war now and it costs you nothing. I'll put it this way, Justin. I'm a very logical person. I'm not like a pacifist. I'm not an isolationist even. You know what I'm saying? Some people are that. They're like, America should never do anything. We should just sit. I'm actually not that guy. I know people think I'm that guy because it appears that way, But I understand that certain wars are righteous, certain self-defense is righteous. But with the internet, with technology, with the ability to research and really get to the truth in a way that we've never had in the past when it was just radio or television telling you what to think, or a book, we have the ability to do research, to try to block out what Joe Biden's saying, to block out what Donald Trump's saying, to block out what the Iran supreme leader's saying, or what Putin's saying, or what Zelensky's saying, and say, listen, I'm not going to listen to any of them. Okay, they all have their opinions and they're all pushing for their country, but I get to use the internet and use research to try to come to the truth on my own. And that's what I am. I'm not a pacifist and I'm not an isolationist. It's just like, is this war moral? Let me start with the Ukraine and Russia war. If I thought bankrolling Zelensky was going to save Europe, then I would be for it. It's like, listen, I don't care. No offense to Russians watching this. I don't care about Russia. I'm not Russian. I have no like emotional or ethnic connection to Russia. I'm Polish, I'm Italian, I'm Puerto Rican, I'm Czechoslovakian, and mixed other European races in there somewhere. But in general, I'm American. But when I really do the research on the Ukraine war, I don't think it's helping Ukraine. I think they're sacrificing their people. And I don't think it's helping Russia. And I don't think it's helping America or Europe. Is fighting Russia through Zelensky and his bankroller Kolomoisky and the guy who fled to Israel after the corruption and this guy and that guy, is that going to save England, a civilization that's been around forever, that's one of the most important European countries when it comes to, I would say, the shaping of the Christian world, the shaping of the philosophical world? Obviously, there's Greeks, there's Romans, there's a lot of smart societies throughout time, but England is a very powerful Britain. I don't want them to get erased and replaced. Why would I want that? Is fighting Russia gonna save England? No. Is fighting Russia going to save Germany? No. Is fighting Russia going to save Greece? No. Is fighting Russia going to save Italy? No. Like, it doesn't do anything. So I'm not an isolationist and I'm not a pacifist. I'm a realist. And the truth is, the war in Ukraine is not helping anybody except for people that hate Europeans. The blowing up people in the Middle East is not making us safer. It's not helping the Middle East. It's not helping Europe, and it's not helping America. Who is it benefiting? I know one group that thinks they're getting benefited from it, but to be honest, I don't even think they're benefiting from it. It's like Black Lives Matter, right? If I say, oh, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, it doesn't mean that I don't like black people. But even if, I'm not saying this is true because I don't know the stats, but let's just say 90% of black people think Black Lives Matter is better for them. But let's just say it's not. It doesn't matter that most people think it's good for them. They don't know who's really behind it, and they don't know what they're really doing. It's not my fault if 90% of them are tricked by it, and that doesn't make it right. It's the same with like Israel. It's like if Israel thinks doing this makes them safer, they're entitled to their opinion. But me personally, I don't think it makes America safer. I don't think it makes the Middle East better. I think it's destroyed Europe purposely. They've just flooded Europe with refugees, but they've done it purposely because they don't like Europeans and they're trying to erase the Roman Empire. But I don't even think it helps Israel. So it's like, I don't have to agree with their politics. Like, I don't think they're ever going to stop fighting people. I don't think it stops with Iran. I don't think it stops with Lebanon. I don't think they're ever going to stop because their ideology is not, in my opinion, compatible with living around people. I don't think they value people whatsoever. And I don't think they want any sort of criticism. It's like, if they do anything, you're not allowed to say it. It's blood libel. It's anti-Semitism. They feel like, not everybody, but the ones who are in power there, they feel like the world is their playground. They feel like everyone outside of their tribe is basically, if you don't bow down and look up to them as gods, then they hate you and they call you an anti-Semite. So it's like they don't feel like they don't live by the same moral code as me as an American. They don't live by the same moral code as me as a Christian. And even as a human being, I don't think they live by the same moral code as nearly anybody. So it's like this idea that all of this is like hurting Europe, it's hurting America, it's hurting the Middle East, but it's really helping them. That's what they think. I don't think it's helping them. But, they're entitled to disagree with me. But I'm entitled to want 5% of my Congress to serve America over Israel without being called an anti-Semite. I'm entitled to noticing that Trump took $250 million in order, in my opinion, to basically sell out the U.S. military. I'm entitled to my First Amendment. I'm entitled to want a president who doesn't work for a foreign nation. I'm allowed to notice that they're passing hate speech rules under the definition of anti-Semitism that tries to quash criticism of Israel. If Qatar or Saudi Arabia were lobbying my politicians to pass Saudi Arabian speech laws in America, I would be just as against it. But that's what's happening to our country. We're basically a colony of Israel right now. We don't even have, there's certain states that tie hurricane aid to whether you do or don't boycott Israel. In order to get aid for a hurricane, you have to make sure you do business with Israel. That this is not a sovereign country. We're not a sovereign country right now. You know, you can't get government contracts if you don't do business with Israel. You can't get hurricane aid in some states if you don't do business with Israel. Can we just change our flag and our country name? Because it's not the United States of America anymore. And this is not to blame them, because I think there's a lot of people in the world that I don't want to be attached at the hip to. No offense, but I don't want to be attached at the hip with anybody, not with Europe. That's what our entire civilization in America is based off of, the rejection of being exactly like Great Britain. I don't want to be attached at the hip with the United Nations. I don't want to be attached at the hip with Britain. I don't want to be attached at the hip with Israel. I don't want to be attached at the hip with Africa. I want to be the United States of America and do what George Washington intended: make partnerships and relationships based on how things are, not like a total lifetime we're attached forever. Now, this is the country we live in. We live in the United States of Israel. Everything that Israel does, we have to deal with too. It's like we're basically a Middle Eastern country now, except we don't live in the Middle East. We just bankroll it. So, that's my perspective. And I think one thing I will say as well is I find the hubris of the Trump administration, and not all, but many Zionists, to be insane, because this is their logic when it comes to this stuff, right? They'll look at a war where tens of thousands of civilians are being killed, and not only do they not care, but they don't want people to talk about it. They say that you're responsible for violence if you don't want violence. Everything is inverted. It's like satanic. It's like, I don't want anyone to get blown up. I don't want schools in Iran to get blown up. I don't want people in Israel to get blown up. I don't want people in Palestine to get blown up. Like, I don't want this war to continue. I think this is an incredibly immoral war. But if I'm against war, they'll then spin it and be like, oh, it's the rhetoric of Tucker Carlson that's getting people hurt. And it's like, what are you talking about? They will justify multiple wars that are the casualties are in the tunes of hundreds of thousands, and then the people against the war are responsible for stuff. And once again, this is like no justification for any of this BS anywhere, especially in the United States of America. But the one terrorist attack, they'll scream terrorist. Why did the FBI know who this guy was? Why did they get him arrested? Why did he get out of prison? It's not like this guy's just some random terrorist who listens to Tucker Carlson's podcast. He got arrested by the FBI. They knew he was a terrorist. So it's like, why is that Tucker Carlson's fault? Because he did a podcast you don't like that was probably true. It's like, this is the hubris of these people. They'll say that all this hate and all this chaos is coming because of Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, but not the fact that the FBI was coaxing him to do something, caught him, and then somehow they let him out of jail to actually kill. Like, no, that they're not responsible. What about the fact that we've been bankrolling multiple wars for the last 10 years to the tunes of hundreds of thousands of deaths? You don't think that's going to make America messier? Like, the hubris of the people that are doing these wars, there's so much chaos and hate going on. Well, maybe try to quash the war down, because when you're funding a European country to kill hundreds of thousands of Europeans in Russia and Ukraine, it's not to justify any chaos, because I'm not a chaotic person, but more chaos comes with war. That's just the reality of the situation. It's like, yeah, that probably is causing a lot of issues more than a podcast that Tucker Carlson did. And then you find out with the one guy that his family was murdered in another country, or that's what they're claiming now. That doesn't justify anything, but it's like when you're blowing up civilians and having war where there are casualties, even if it's by mistake, that's not more responsible for the chaos. It's the podcast that Tucker Carlson had with Colonel McGregor, where they're both against these wars. Like, this is the pure subversion and an inversion coming from Zionists, where they support war. They don't care about any sort of civilian sort of casualties, but then the people that are against them are responsible. Now it's your words that are causing people's actions, but not the actual government agency that had this guy arrested. I don't want terrorists in the country. I don't want people working with ISIS or ISIL. I don't want anyone here that doesn't want to be here. But it's Candace Owens' fault because she did an edgy podcast. It's like, the hubris that these people have is absolutely insane, and the dishonesty and the inversion. I've been calling Trump recently a demented demon because he acts like demented. Like, for example, not trying to over compliment, but Thomas Massey's one of the most honest and honorable people in Congress. You could go back 10 years, even years ago. Charlie Kirk said he was his favorite congressman. Even when Trump trashed Thomas Massey, Charlie Kirk never did. Not that Charlie is like the moral beacon of everything, but anybody with a soul and a pulse knows that although Thomas Massey's not a perfect person, he's the best we have in Congress. He actually votes with how he thinks. He doesn't like let lobbyists control him. He doesn't care what the president says. He's one of the most consistent people in Congress by far. And Trump is an inverted, demented demon where he's trying to project this idea that Thomas Massey's a sellout, that Thomas Massey's a rhino, that Thomas Massey doesn't like America, when in reality, he's one of the only politicians that's not completely captured. Trump took $250 million from Miriam Adelson, who Trump says he thinks likes Israel more than America. And Trump says that family always asked Trump to do things for Israel. So Trump took $250 million from a dual citizen who Trump knows likes another country more than America. And obviously they want him to do things for that money. So Trump is essentially selling out the United States of America to a foreign nation, and he admits it on stage. But it's Thomas Massey who's actually the sellout, because Thomas Massey won't vote in favor of Israel over the United States of America. Thomas Massey believes in the Constitution more than Israeli donor money. Thomas Massey believes in getting the pesticides out of our food, while Donald Trump has a bunch of business friends who work at pharmaceutical companies who will make a fortune while they just spray our food with poison. But it's Thomas Massey who sold out, not Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump is a demented demon. I have a lot of nicknames for Donald Trump. Most of my nicknames catch on because I'm a trendsetter. Grandpa Moderna, everybody used to call him. I invented that. There's a lot, but now my new one is he's a demented demon. He's a demon because he's demented. He's inverting reality. Trump is like an inverted mirror. If it's up, Trump says down. If it's down, Trump says up. Trump sells out, but then the guy who won't sell out is the sellout. It's demonic. So someone said Massey's goofy. Okay, so are a lot of people, but I'm not sitting here. I'm not a PR agent for Thomas Massey. I'm just letting you know I want most of Congress to prioritize America over lobbying money. And right now, 98% of Congress is sold out. And there's like 5 people who don't take money and actually vote with their morals. So I don't want to kick out one of the only guys who votes with his morals and then also will explain it. Like, if they pass some big bill that's like the free water bill, but it's a total garbage bill, Thomas Massey gets on his X account and he's like, this is what's actually in the bill. Massey wants there to be single voter bills. He wants it like, instead of like the clean water bill, which is 10,000 pages, which probably poisons our water, he wants them to be single issue bills. So there is no omnibus bill. When Trump says, why won't Massey vote for this big tax cut bill? It's not a tax cut bill. It's probably like 1,000 pages. It prints trillions of dollars. And even if they cut some taxes for certain corporations or certain people of certain brackets, but they're printing trillions of dollars, you're losing money. It's like, I'm giving you money, guys. I just printed $5 trillion and here's $1,200 in COVID bucks. He might have given me $1,600 or whatever he gave during COVID, but I probably lost $20,000 due to inflation. And if you count all the other ways I lost money due to all the BS and the censorship, it's well above that amount. So it's like, it's literally socialism. It's like, here, everybody take $1,000 check. Now you're richer. No, you're not. That's what Trump is, a socialist. He's not even a capitalist. He's a left-wing shit lib, Epstein homie Democrat from New York City who likes Bill Clinton, who Hillary Clinton has the same foreign policy as. He's not socially conservative. He's certainly not fiscally conservative. Trump is basically just like an actor who's better than Biden. Biden's like, I want to open the border. And Trump's like, I want to close the border. Cool. I guess that deserves my vote or something, but that's not really, that doesn't make you conservative. It just means Trump is better than Biden. It would be like if I had like some guy and I like put him there and he's like, and I'm like, let's play basketball. And he's like, and he just throws the ball out of bounds every time. It's like, yeah, that guy's terrible at basketball. And then like Trump comes in, he's like, look, I can make a layup. Oh my gosh, it's Michael Jordan. It doesn't make you Michael Jordan because you can make a layup on a Fisher Price basket. That's what Trump is. He just looks impressive because he's standing next to Joe Biden, who's like the court jester for the elites. You know what I'm saying? It creates this idea of like, oh, that's good for me. Yeah, I voted for Trump because I wanted the border closed, but that's like all he does. Someone said Massey can't single-handedly save the system. They got you played. I absolutely don't think he could single-handedly save the system, nor have I ever implied that. But if we have 98% of Congress sold out and one guy is just being authentic, I don't want him thrown out of Congress. There's a reason they want Thomas Massey so bad out of Congress. Does he really do anything in the sense of like, can he really get that much stuff done? Not really, because he's one person, but he did get the Epstein files out with Ro Khanna. That's why they're really pissed off. But you know, it ruins their like little matrix they're creating. Because if they control 99% of the right and 99% of the left, you can't have someone breaking the fake Fox News versus CNN false paradigm, the banker theater, because it ruins the whole illusion. And then people are going to start waking up. So there's a reason Miriam Adelson, Zionist billionaire, Paul Singer, Zionist billionaire, John Paulson, Zionist billionaire, Donald Trump, Zionist billionaire, 4 Zionist billionaires are desperately sputtering to get some guy out of Congress in an obscure district of Kentucky. Why do you think they're so desperate? Paulson, Singer, Adelson, and Trump, 4 Zionist billionaires that are just spurging out trying to get this guy out of office because he's ruining the show. He's not going to single-handedly save the country or save Congress, but it's like the Wizard of Oz. You see behind the curtain with Thomas Massey. Everything they do, he shows you behind the curtain. During COVID, if anybody can recall, I'm going to ask a question, then I'm just going to answer it because this isn't Jeopardy and I can't hear anybody. But in general, when did Trump first get really pissed off at Thomas Massey? When did Trump freak out at Thomas Massey and try to kick him out of Congress? In 2020. What did Thomas Massey do to piss off Trump? He told people 2 things. He said, first of all, the CARES Act is one of the biggest spending bills and going to be one of the biggest mistakes in U.S. history. It's an absolute disgrace. But then he also told people that Congress was using COVID and the virus as an excuse to not show their roll call. So you have one of, I think at the time it was the most expensive bill in U.S. history. Probably there's a lot of scammy bills, but the CARES Act is one of the worst bills in U.S. history, if not number one. And they tried to hide their vote. They tried to not, it's illegal. Congress has to show you who votes yes or no. But what they were doing was saying, we not only do we not want to show you, but we can't go to work because it's too crazy. So we're just going to like vote from home or something. It's like, you can't even do, it's not even legal. Like one way or the other, they were trying to skirt the system to hide their votes and not show people whether they were a yes or no while they passed the biggest scam bill in U.S. history. And Massey was doing like his little filibuster and he's like, Congress is going to die in front of an empty chamber. Like if you're telling, grocery workers that they could go to work, then we got to come to work and show our vote on this stupid bill. That's when Trump first got pissed off. So Thomas Massey was right about the CARES Act. And let me just show you a little insight into why I never bought into the election was rigged whole, Trump luring people to January 6th so he could Fed trap them before Biden got in. The reason I never fell for any of that stuff is because I actually research and I'm like, okay, the CARES Act is the reason that Democrats could make the election less fair, right? Trump greenlighted all this stuff. And while he's greenlighting all of these bills that give them emergency powers so they can do all this stuff and justify mass mail-in ballots, Trump signed off on it. I said no. Thomas Massey said no. And while Gavin Newsom in California is oppressing California by being a dictator, Trump, if you go back and watch the interviews from 2020, that's when Trump started getting along with Gavin Newsom. He goes, I like Gavin Newsom. He gets me. We're passing these COVID bills. He's working with me. Of course, Gavin Newsom's working with you because you're being a communist dictator of a pharmaceutical lockdown. Yeah, of course, a Democrat's going to like that because they have no soul. So while Trump was selling out everybody and allowing the Democrats to get away with a fishy election, I'm like, he's not a victim to what he caused. He passed the CARES Act. He was happy about it. He tried to shut up everybody who warned about it. And then when the CARES Act settled in, Trump was like, oh my gosh, guys, I'm a victim. Why don't you follow me to January 6th so I could get you all Fed trapped? It's like, he's a clown. He's a Pied Piper. If you remember the story of the Pied Piper or the Judas Goat, we'll go through them both. The Pied Piper played his flute and he marched kids into the ocean and killed them. The Judas Goat is the animal they use to convince the sheep, oh, follow me. And then they send them to slaughter. Trump is a Pied Piper and a Judas Goat. Oh, he just mistakenly set up his fan base to the feds. I mean, who could have imagined that happened? It's like, yeah, the guy who signed the CARES Act, who then lied about it, who got mad at the guy telling the truth about it, the guy who printed out AOC COVID communist bucks, the guy who gave the Democrats the power to do whatever they wanted, and then got mad at Georgia and Governor Kemp when Governor Kemp tried to open. Trump said, no, I'm the lockdown quarterback. You stay closed when I say closed. He was the lockdown quarterback for 2 months. He signed the bill that allowed the Democrats to get away with the sketchy election. And then he said, hey, follow me into the ocean. As he's tweeting, Moderna, my vaccines are so great. My vaccine saved the world. That's why I'm not following that guy. Thank God I have good intuition and I'm not a follower, or else I would have cat turded my way into some chaos. But in general, I say all that to say this is when Trump got mad at Thomas Massie. That's when he first got pissed off. So he tried to bankroll or at least endorse the opposition of Thomas Massie. He lost in the primary. Then Trump endorsed Thomas Massie after he got pissed at him and then took credit for him winning and said, oh, I got all these candidates to win. He tried to get Massie kicked out. Massie won, and then Trump endorsed him and said, oh, my endorsement's so powerful. Now the stakes are raised because Massie released the Epstein files. And I understand that there's some people getting carried away, I guess you could say, but obviously there's also, I think, a lot of things about Epstein that have not been uncovered. So people have, in a way, a right to get carried away. But in general, if you look at the Epstein files, what it really showed, at least provably, I'm not saying there's nothing else in there, but what it provably showed is that there's someone above our politicians. There's someone that works directly with banking families. There's somebody that was facilitating things with companies that basically are in charge of our surveillance state. There's somebody that made Bill Gates, one of the richest people in America, feel like a little child compared to him. So that's what the Epstein files provably showed. And it's embarrassing for all the banker puppets for you to see behind the curtain. So, they're mad at Massie because he released the Epstein files. They're mad at Massie because he won't sell out to the Israel lobby. They're mad at Massie because he won't take AIPAC money. They're mad at Massie because he's trying to explain how it works. The same reason they were mad at Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's not perfect either, but she wasn't as big of a sellout as everyone else. They tried to morally blackmail you. They try to buy you. And if they can't buy you, it's like, hey, do you want my money and you do want to work with us? Or do you want to see 50,000 articles written about you calling you an anti-Semite? Your choice. We're not trying to pressure you or anything. Do you want to basically work for Israel? Do you want to get on your knees and treat us like we've never made a mistake in our lives and call it blood libel and anti-Semitism whenever anybody criticizes us? Or do you want to see the press, call you an anti-Semite every single day? I mean, it's up to you. You want our money? I mean, that's a rough, I'm just like, storytelling, but you get it. Someone said Marjorie Taylor Greene was a magatard, though. I don't trust her at all. Well, you don't have to trust a politician, but what I would say is, I think Marjorie and Charlie, in two different ways, kind of show you how the regime and the establishment wants 100% loyalty. With Marjorie, she was very loyal to Trump, and then, she broke on one issue, and now she's turning brown or whatever, according to Trump. Charlie Kirk was a lifelong pro-Israel Zionist who did more for Israel than almost anybody I know. But then, when his donors wanted him to get Tucker Carlson off the stage and Charlie said, I don't really want Tucker Carlson off the stage, then they started calling him an anti-Semite. If that shows you anything, it should show you that, the establishment wants 100% support. They're not, it's literally like a religion, and I noticed this like in 2019, but I never caved as much as Charlie Kirk. As soon as it was like, it's either this or this, I was like, yeah, I guess I'll tell the truth. I don't really care about your moral blackmail, as Charlie called it. But it was like, oh, you're going to talk about the speech laws? Well, you can't get invited. You can't do this. You're this. Whatever. Then call me that. I don't really care because I don't have a fake bone in my body to do that. But with Charlie, he played ball for a while with Marjorie. She played ball. She was loyal to Trump for a long time, but it just shows you that either you're 100% subservient to whatever they tell you to say and think, or you're not. And when you listen to Zionists, they'll tell you, oh, you don't have to support everything that Israel does. You kind of do, though, or else you call him an anti Semite. Charlie Kirk supported Israel more than anybody I know. Yet in his final year, most Zionists were calling him an anti Semite, were calling him a threat. There's some, I'm not even going to give her attention, but there's some lady out there that I've just found out about this last year that's like super Zionist. She was like tweeting about Charlie Kirk crazily last year. Like, you wouldn't even know Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel because she was like, oh, he's going to ruin TPUSA. It's going to be crazy. They want 100% submission. They'll claim that, oh, you don't have to agree with us on everything. You kind of do, though. Where have you ever allowed anyone to ever say anything in disagreement to you? Because Charlie Kirk was literally the perfect example. He was obedient. He was subservient. He did what Israel wanted. He said whatever they wanted for his entire career. He never threw Israel under the bus. He was never willing to completely. And then as soon as he was like, listen, I'm American. At the end of the day, I want to serve America over Israel. Like, yeah, I like Israel, but I'm also American. I want free speech. Charlie, though, and you could, all these things I'm saying, you could look up. This is all true. He was saying, why am I more free to criticize America as an American than I am to criticize Israel? Like, why am I more free to do that? And the answer that Charlie Kirk, I'll just give him, is basically, I don't know any other way to say this. We're a colony of Israel. In certain areas of the country, you can't get hurricane funding unless you do business with Israel. It's like, why else would you be allowed to criticize America in America more than Israel? Imagine if it was hard to criticize Saudi Arabia in America. Imagine if every state was passing Saudi Arabian Remembrance Alliance like definitions of anti-Saudi Arabianism. Imagine if it was anti-Saudi Arabianism to say that Saudis in America had loyal to Saudi Arabia. Imagine if a Saudi prince gave Trump $250 million and then Trump's like, why else would it be harder for Charlie Kirk to criticize a foreign nation than America? He was really annoyed at that because he was trying to tell his side of that debate. I'm on your side. I'm pro-Israel. I'll do your Hasbara. I'll tell your talking points on my college campuses. I'll defend you. I'll try to make the youth support you. But you got to level with me a little bit. If I'm paraphrasing now, but it's like if Charlie does 95% for Israel, but then 5% of the time he wants to be America first, was that okay with them? It wasn't. That's why I just want to distance myself as much as possible. Like, you can have whatever beliefs you have. If you have, ethnic allegiance to another country, whatever, religious, whatever, you think your pastor told you that, okay, that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinion and perspective on the world. But am I allowed to be an American that prioritizes the American Constitution, the First Amendment, and our sovereignty and our rights and our way of life over a foreign nation? I have love for everybody in this world, but I don't believe that our values are compatible with other people's values. If I look at another country, let's just say India, right? India is an amazing country. I have nothing but love for Indians, but they have a different way of life. They have a different religion, a different spirituality, a different basis. Their cities look a lot different than America. Their customs are a lot different than America. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't have any ill will towards India. But as an American, as somebody that's mostly European ethnically, am I allowed to want to live in a different place? Is someone German allowed to want to live in Germany? Is someone English allowed to want to live in England? Like, if India is allowed to have 1 billion people in a nation, is anyone else allowed to have an ethnic majority? Like, why is that such a harsh thing for people to come to terms with, where it's like, oh, that's so mean? It's not mean. It's the same thing that Indians want. It's the same things that a lot of country wants. So in America, without being disrespectful to anybody else, I don't think that our values are compatible with some of the values in the Middle East. And, there's a lot of Zionists and Jews and Christians and non-Christians that say we're not compatible with Islam. We're not compatible with Islam. You see a lot of these GOP members, they'll say, they're saying some very bold stuff. Now take what Randy Fine says about Muslims and Islam and say it about Judaism. Are you allowed to say that about Judaism? Or no, that's anti-Semitism. But that's the hypocrisy that annoys me. If you want to say that about another religion or another group, then you can't call it hate speech when someone else does it, because then you're just like calling Kaepernick. Everything he wants to do for black people, he would call a white person racist if they did the same thing. That's the part that annoys me. I don't mind racial activism and I don't mind religious activism. Just be consistent with it. If you're going to do it for your people, you can't be shocked if somebody else does it for their people. Like, then you're just a liar. So, with all that being said, I don't think multiple religions are compatible with America, especially one that views themselves as above us. And I think, a Jewish person in America has a right to say that they don't think that Islam is compatible with America. Someone said bad analogy. It's not a bad analogy, because just like every Christian conservative has heard a million times that Islam's not compatible with America, what is Judaism? We don't even know what it is, but it seems like to me, if it has anything to do with Israel, and maybe it doesn't, but the state of Israel, whether it's religious or secular, I've noticed that in my country, I'm not allowed to say anything about them. Everything they've always done is perfect. They've never made a mistake. They've never killed a civilian. If their soldiers get caught on camera doing something, it never happened. It's just blood libel if you talk about it. So to me, whatever ideology that is, I don't know if it's religious or secular, their religion is basically they are gods, you are subservient. You have to act like they've never made a single mistake, and you need to worship them more than you do Jesus Christ, or else you're going to get called an anti-Semite. I don't believe that is like, that's not compatible with the First Amendment. That's not compatible with Christianity. That's not compatible with the American way of, everybody's equal in these set of rules. There's a video of Chris Christie saying that when he arrested Jared Kushner's father, that Jared Kushner got pissed at him and said, this should have been handled by the rabbis, because the whole Jared Kushner father story is pretty crazy. Like, it was like he did some blackmail thing, but you could look at it. Trump pardoned him and made him to the ambassador to France. But with Jared Kushner, he's like, you shouldn't have gotten the law involved. It should have been handled by our rabbis. You're allowed to think that way. I don't really care, but that's not really how America works. Like, if you want to do that, and that's fine, but that's how they want to do everything. It's like they don't think they have ever done anything wrong, and everything should be handled by them. And I think that a lot of their ideology is they have a different set of rules based on who's doing what to who. If they're doing something to someone outside of their tribe, a lot of times, not all and not everybody, but some of them don't view that as a problem. It's like, if you did that to someone outside of our tribe, it's blood libel if anybody talks about it. It's anti-Semitism if anybody mentions it. That's the reality of the situation. I don't care. I don't care how many people in the comments say that that's a bad analogy. It's not. And I'm not stoking flames. I literally made this report to tell you that the terrorist who committed an atrocity at Old Dominion was known by the FBI. Why am I stoking flames for telling you the truth, but not our government, who literally bombed civilians by mistake, who funds multiple countries that are getting hundreds of thousands of people killed? That's not stoking flames. Just somebody who says stop doing that, that's stoking flames. Like, Randy Fine and all of these politicians tweet out all of this stuff all the time that I would never say, because I don't even believe it. But if you said that about them, now they're calling Kaepernick. Now they're so mad and you're so bad for having the same ideology of them. I'm tired of the hypocrisy. I'm tired of the double standards. And to be quite frank, similar to them, I don't want America to become a third world country. I don't think we should have taken in all these refugees. I don't think we should have blended 50,000 different cultures together where people are having these ancient Middle Eastern blood fights on our soil. It's not good, So I'm completely in agreement that that's not good, but speaking the truth is not stoking flames. And I'm tired of people. This is just a way to skirt around the First Amendment, to say, oh, you telling Tucker Carlson telling the truth on a podcast is what caused all these problems, not the wars we're involved in. Oh, yeah? It was a podcast that caused that problem? Tucker having a friendly conversation where he constantly says on his podcast, Tucker says, I'm against anti-Semitism. I'm against hate. I'm against war. I'm against civilian casualties. I'm against all that. Tucker says that a million times, yet it's his fault that something happened, not the FBI agent and the DOJ who arrested the terrorists 10 years ago for literally admitting that they worked with terrorist organizations, not the people that are fanning the flames of war And meanwhile, it's like we start these wars, we fund these wars, we take part in these wars, and then they dump a bunch of refugees off in America so people can get have Middle Eastern conflicts in America on our soil, like they're just in the middle of like Israel and Lebanon. It's not anybody. It's my fault for not wanting that in this country. Like, why would I want that? So someone said it's a great analogy. Of course it is. Obviously it is. And not everybody lives by the same standards as us. You go to other countries and they have different rules, they have different morals, they have different values. I'm fine with that, but I want to have a conversation about the United States and America. I don't want to live in a Middle Eastern, Islamic state. I'm not Muslim. God bless everybody, but that's just not what I am. I don't want to live under Saudi Arabia. I don't want to live in Dubai. I don't want to live in a Arab theocracy. I don't want to live in a Jewish theocracy. And right now, if you look at America, it's not in Sharia law right now. It's under some sort of like Israeli, like we live under like Israeli rules. It's like you can't criticize them. You're an anti-Semite. You can't get hurricane assistance unless you support that country. That's the country I live in. I'm not Jewish. I don't practice Judaism. You're allowed to. I don't care. You're allowed to practice Islam. You're allowed to be free in America, but I'm also allowed to just speak my opinion about it. If any ideology believes that there's one race that is, that it doesn't matter what they do to other people, or they shouldn't be held to the same standards, then it's just it's never going to end. Like these problems in the Middle East, they're not going to end. I don't think it ends with Iran. I don't think it ended with Afghanistan. It's never going to end because they have a certain ideology and they're just going to keep doing it. They're going to keep expanding their land. They don't value anyone else's life but their own. And I find that sickening. I don't know. I'm a bad person because I think it's disgusting when our soldiers die, but I also think it's disgusting when Iranian school children die. That makes me a bad person. Like I don't believe anybody in any country should be hurt, especially like civilians if you're not even in the military. I'm fanning the flames because I think that's sick. But the people that are like, oh, it's just war, they got blown up because they were next to it, like, but they're not fanning the flames. Like it's such nonsense. Like no one's buying this crap anymore. So it's there's a someone said prayer hands. Seriously, what's wrong with prayer hands? Uh, is there you got a problem with them? Someone said, "What's worse is they send." Well, I'm not gonna read that, but anyway, someone said, "Yeah, that school being knocked down was sad." Yeah, and I get it's not in the interest of the U.S. government to admit that they did that by mistake. Hopefully, it was a mistake, but it's the whole. I would say of the Trump administration, just like they're all kind of in over their heads a little bit. Like, it's easier for Caroline Leavitt and Pete Hegseth to do their job when they're not doing anything. But at times of war, it's a lot harder. Obviously, like tensions are high. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on. And personally, I'm not saying like they're doing the worst job I've ever seen, but I think Caroline Leavitt and Pete Hegseth, they're kind of melting to the pressure and just, they're not, they're representing a regime that's not fully honest. So, it's like they're having trouble keeping up with the reasons that they're trying to tell us because it's not adding up to reality. It's like we did it because of this. Wait, no, we did it because of this. Wait, we did it because of this. And then I heard we did it because of that. And then we did it because of this. There's 8 different reasons. And then 2 days later they'll literally be like, "Oh no, that wasn't it." So they're doing the best they can, I guess, but I'm not really impressed with Trump's administration. That's also what happens when you don't tell the truth often. It's hard to keep up with the same thing that you're saying. Like it's easier to just tell the truth than it is to try to remember what you said 3 days ago. Someone said, "Think of how many pairs of drawers Lindsey Graham has ruined since this started." Dude, he's having the time of his life. Lindsey Graham's been waiting for this moment forever. Hillary Clinton seems pretty impressed with Donald Trump. Lindsey Graham is thrilled. All the people who hated Trump in 2016 and 2017 are thrilled. Trump has lost like every original supporter. Someone like Ann Coulter, who I'm not like a fan of Ann, no offense, but she's kind of annoying. But Ann Coulter, even if she's a little cringe, I think she actually does. She is like America first at the core. She's like, I want America to win. I don't care about anyone else. And she hates Donald Trump now. She says this war is a mistake. Like the Ann Coulters of the world, the Masseys of the world, the Rand Pauls of the world have been replaced with Mark Levin's, Ben Shapiro's, and Lindsey Graham's. And, that's MAGA now, but it's whatever. Someone said you're watching the wrong podcast if they're offended by prayer hands. I mean, yeah, I don't know. Pete said, I think Islam needs female human rights. So that's the reason, since I'm a female human. Well, let me ask you this, right? Because this is like one of the biggest talking points. Like, we need to like fight Iran so women can get freedom. This is my view as a man, a Christian, an American, someone. This is just my brain speaking. So I just want to like run this by you. Are we doing so well in America that we need to export feminism and liberalism to Muslim countries? Like, they trick you, in my view, on a lot of like Republican media, where they convince you that Christians also aren't conservative in their views. Like, America was way more conservative for our entire civilization, like literally until the mid 1900s. America was conservative. It's not just like Muslims who invented conservatism, it's in the Bible. So now America has gambling basically legalized in all 50 states. You can gamble on war. That's like satanic. Okay. We have pornography OnlyFans everywhere. Okay. I'm not judging. I'm just saying, women are like, it's normal for women to reject marriage, to reject normal traditional relationships. Now we're getting to the point where like the average chick doesn't even think about getting married till she's like 40, and it's harder to have kids. Every one of our cities is liberal, right? San Francisco is pumping the most subversive demonic ideology. All these libtards are just destroying the brains of your daughters. We need to go and give this to Iran. And people will be like, well, no, 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 no. I don't want to give that to Iran. I just want to make them more conservative. How can you give someone something that you don't have for yourself? You don't have a conservative or a Christian or a moral foundation in this country. Most women vote Democrat. Most women are liberal. Most women fall for all of the subversive propaganda that liberals are teaching them. Why would you want to bring that to Iranian women? Like, on what planet do you think that you have the moral high ground? And you don't even, and here's what I'll say too. You don't even know when you're watching stuff and you're like, oh, they can't do this and that. Says the person you're watching on television who probably is Epstein's friend. There's videos of Tehran where women didn't have to wear headdresses. Women had the freedom to go out. They're just like not as subversive as a lot of American culture. And I don't want to live in Iran. I'm just saying, like, all your beliefs are based on people who've been trying to start this war. You don't even know what Tehran was like a year or two ago. You just believe that women are so oppressed there. Meanwhile, now they've convinced conservative women to want to bring liberalism and feminism there. Someone said, I'm an atheist, but I have an itch to post Christ is King to piss off Ted Cruz and others on X. Well, Ted definitely will get annoyed by that because Ted is a subversive shovel face. But yeah, I don't know. To me, wanting to export liberalism and feminism to Iran is like somebody with like the dirtiest house being like, dude, I got to bring my dirt to your house because you need my dirt because your house is like too clean. I don't like the way you're running it. It's like, that's weird. Why? Why not like capture one single city in America back from Democrats and get our women, like, all these things, by the way, too. And I'm not saying this to judge people. I'm just being honest about the people doing it. Just because you do something and why they're doing it might be two different things. So I'm not trying to judge women or anybody right now. I'm just being honest. All of the liberal ideology they're pumping into America is because they hate us. They're trying to socially destabilize us, and they're trying to basically wipe out our bloodlines. Like, why would they want women to not get married until they're like 40 when they can't have kids? Because then people are going to have less kids, and then they just replace you with other people, and it wipes out your bloodline. I'm not judging people. I'm just saying, why are they trying to like push LGBT to so many people? It's like, well, if you're gay, you can't have kids because you have to have sex to have kids usually, unless you're just going to, Dave Rubin it and get somebody else's kid. But in general, it's like all of these ideologies they're pumping are slowly wiping out it's like, oh, convince all the people in England that they shouldn't get married until they're 45. They should be a feminist at their job, and that LGBT is so cool and that men suck, blah, blah, blah. And then they just import people from Africa and the Middle East. And now England in 50 years is going to be something you read about because it's not going to exist in reality. The whole country is going to be like conquered at that point. And I'm not trying to disrespect anybody. That's just the reality of it. If India wasn't having Indian babies and a bunch of white people moved there, and then in 50 years it was 90% white, India would be something you read about. You wouldn't even know what an Indian person was. Like that, that's true to any race or any country. So that's what they're doing to Europe purposely. They're purposely pushing left-wing ideology. They're purposely sending the migrants there. The people running the show are trying to wipe out their competition. So, do you really think? I don't know your religion. I don't know your group. You said you're a woman. Do you really think that what Iran really badly needs is American liberalism and feminism? Why would they need that? But then you start to realize when you untangle your propaganda, this is what they want to do to the whole world because they're trying to just destroy everybody. They want Russia to be that way. Ever since we moved into Ukraine, they started getting more liberal and wiping out their people with their military. Most of Western Europe is completely cooked. Canada's cooked. America's cooked. Australia's psychotically liberal. Oh, you know what the problem is, guys? It's Russia, that strong nation that wants to exist and not wipe themselves off the map. You know what we need to go after next? Iran, because women can't start OnlyFans accounts there and they're not allowed to do this. You know what we need to do after that? Then we need to go after China, the nationally homogenous country of Chinese people that's been around for thousands of years. That's what we need to do, folks. After we're doing Iran so we could turn Shanghai into San Francisco. Don't you want to bring feminism and liberalism to Shanghai, Republicans? It's like, who do you not realize who you're taking your information from? I don't want to live in 50 different countries in the world, but why do I need to bring liberalism and feminism to the Middle East? That's like, who told you that? That's what they really need from us. I don't even want to go to Los Angeles anymore. I don't want to go to New York City anymore. I went to Seattle. Like, I had a friend who lived in Seattle for 60 years. They love it. They had to move because it's so disgusting and crime filled. It's like our cities suck. Seattle sucks way more than it used to. Portland sucks way more than it used to. Los Angeles sucks more than it used to. New York City sucks more than it used to, but it's kind of cool. It's like, is that ever a priority? This is why people voted for Donald Trump. He ran on what I'm saying. It's like, who cares about Iraq? No offense to Iraqis, but we're America. Who cares about freaking what Iran's doing? Like Irina, whatever, is getting slaughtered on a North or South Carolina subway, but we really care about women in Tehran. The people running our government don't even give a fuck about us. You really think they care about women in Iran? That's what they told you? They're spraying pesticides on our crops and providing legal immunity to poison us so their friends can make more money. But they really want Iranian women to have more freedom. If you want me to believe that you're trying to help women in Iran, take the freaking poison out of all of our food. Stop with the pharmaceutical madness. Our televisions are disgusting. Like Satan would look at our television commercials and be like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad you guys are so evil. Like, I can't even watch any sport. Like, every commercial's like Ben Jarzen, Dijarzen, Babarzin, Kokarzin. It's like these demonic freaking like pharmaceutical self-injectables where it's like, oh, you might lose your bones, you might die, blah, 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 your liver failure, blah, 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 blah. What the frick? Oh, yeah, but that's what they need in Iran. They need a bunch of Dijarzen commercials and Venbarzin and Bobempic and all these disgusting pharmaceuticals where it's just this big freaking scam. Do they need more glyphosate on their crops? Do they need more access to pornography? Do they need to be feminists, that don't want to get married until they're 41 and then they become Christian when it's hard for them to have kids? Like, that's what they really need. Yeah. The people that are spraying glyphosate on our crops and passing Operation Warp Speed need to go help Iranian women. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just letting you know this isn't true. Like, they're not trying. They don't even want to help us. And when you look at some of this stuff, it makes more sense when you realize that they just hate us. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I was like your boss and I was like, you know what? Go smash your head against the wall. And you're like, sir, yes, sir. And then I'm like, go eat these glyphosate crops. Go do this, go do that. And after 4 weeks, you're like, wait a second. I know that no job is easy, but like maybe my boss literally hates me and is just trying to hurt me and humiliate me. It's like, yeah, if he's telling you to do stuff that has no systemic value but only hurts you, it's like at a certain point you have to wonder, like, yeah, they're doing things for money. Yes, they're trying to enrich themselves, but also in some cases, they don't like you. The people running America don't like you. They don't like Europeans. They don't like Christians. And that's why the system reflects it. That's why they push all of these anti-Christ things and they call it liberalism and they call it feminism and they pass them into anti-Semitism laws. You can't talk about the Bible. You can't say this about Jesus. You can't talk about homosexuality. You can't talk about feminism. It's like all of these things are anti-biblical things where it's against the First Amendment and it's against the Bible, but they just call it hate speech in order to rig algorithms and rig, what they're teaching your kids. Like, it's like, do you notice a pattern? The people running this country don't like us. And it's not just the left. That's the issue. It's easy to be like, it's just Democrats, but Trump really likes us. No, he doesn't. Another thing I just found out, Trump's net worth went up $1 billion. He's like, yeah, it's okay to be poor and lose money on gas because my oil friends who own the companies are making more money. No offense, bro, but unless I own a stock in the company, I don't give a shit if they make $1 billion more dollars, just like no American does. Trump made $1 billion. Let's look in the comment section real quick. Okay. He made over $1 billion, his family, in the last year. How did Trump make his money? What's the number one way he made most money? Did he add value to society? Was he like Henry Ford and who created a great car and a lot of jobs? Did he, is he doing Amazon work, which despite what people want to think, it is good service. Amazon delivers things to your door. It's incredible. What did Trump? Oh, Pig is angry. Got it. Crypto. Trump did a bunch of shit coins, crypto coins, Trump coin, Melania coin. He did partnerships with companies that are working on those little scam coins, and he made $1 billion. Did anybody get anything out of that? Did he build cars for people? Did he create his properties are nice? Did he is that how he made all of his fortune? No, it's off of crypto. It's this country is one giant scam and Trump is the biggest scammer. It's like, somebody hit me up. Someone said people cheering for their own demise from these people. Wild times. Thank you, Holly. I agree. Like I don't have, I'm doing better than I was 6 years ago. I had literally no money, but in general, I'm not that rich and I'm not really rich at all. But in general, it's like I've had companies come to me. I don't have literally Trump would laugh at me if he knew how much I had, but it's like Trump has billions of dollars. And someone came to me and said, Anomaly, you should do a crypto coin. You should do your own Anomaly coin or Dream Rare coin. And you could make like millions of dollars, literally but in order for me to make millions of dollars, someone would have to lose millions of dollars because it's this weird thing where like you get these coins, everyone buys them, you rug pull, you make a fortune and everybody gets pissed off. Like Trump needs to do that. Donald Trump needs to do a Trump coin or a Melania coin. Like, dude, it's the most unethical, gross, disgusting way to make money. Like, I'm like, no, I don't care. Like, could I have made millions doing it? I don't know, because I don't think I'm that popular. But in general, like, is that how I want to live my life? Being like, dude, I made millions of dollars rug pulling somebody on a scam coin. It's disgusting. I'm like, dude, I'd rather be homeless on the side of a road. And that's what I'm missing in this country is maybe I'm a fool for believing this, but what I believe being a real American is honor, being honorable, being somebody that's willing to risk it all for doing the right thing. That's what being America means to me. Not drone striking a freaking school of a bunch of children, not helping a country that kills civilians but won't let you talk about it, not needing to worship a foreign nation who hates me in order to get hurricane aid. Like, none of this is honorable. I want a president who would be willing to go across the Delaware River to save, to start a nation, not a guy who sells a bunch of Trump coins to make $1 billion. Trump is the most gross, disgusting, unethical fraud. Like, he's such a scammer. And it's like, oh, well, Nancy Pelosi's a scammer too. Yeah, and I don't like Nancy Pelosi, but that's our new thing. It's like, Joe Biden scammed 15 times, so when Trump does it 18 times, it makes it okay. It's like this is our nation. Everybody's making money doing crypto rug pulls and all. Like it's disgusting. Back in the day, people added value in order to make money. They had to provide something. I like Jeff Bezos unironically more than a lot of these other billionaires, not because I know him, not because I care, but even though Amazon's not like the most ethical company, and I know they do shady stuff, Amazon is actually a good service. Out of all, like, what is open AI? It's like, this guy, didn't he start a nonprofit and then turn it into a for-profit business? And he's not the only one with AI. It's like other people have that, but in general, it's like, oh, this crypto, he made $1 billion with a crap coin. That's like the worst business ever. It's the worst business model. You're doing absolutely nothing, but essentially, like, pseudo robbing people, because if you're making it, someone had to lose it, probably. Unless you could just create value from thin air, then I guess you're just the Federal Reserve or something. I don't 100% know. Someone said, anomaly, who cares when we have football to watch? Yeah, let's watch the Cowboys with the end racism on there. They're like, racism is bad, yo. Racism bad, yo. Dude, thank you so much. Dude, thank you, NFL. I've never thought of that. It's crazy because my whole life I guess I thought it was good. And then I saw end racism on the end zone and I thought to myself, you know what? I never thought of that. Maybe now I'll stop. It's like no one cares. It's just like subversive, humiliating, societal decline. And like I said, the people at the high levels, they don't have loyalty to us. They want to socially manipulate our country to weaken it over time so the country that they like more can outrank us. And then as soon as they outrank us, they're going to throw us to the side of the road like a dead carcass. They're just going to exploit America for all it's worth. And then as soon as the power struggle switch, they're going to have zero loyalty to us. Absolutely none. So it's like, why would you do this to like, who likes this stuff? But someone said, you will watch the goy ball. I have to watch a little goy ball, obviously. Everybody needs to watch a little goy ball. So at least hockey doesn't do the black national anthem at their games. Yeah, but they do LGBTQ like rainbow things on their things. They're like, look, it's LGBTQ plus day at the New Jersey Devils. It's like, is this necessary? We need the New York Yankees need to be homosexual today like that. Why? I can't just see Aaron Judge hit a home run. I can't just eat a hot dog with a bunch of freaking nitrates in it. It's gotta be some weird, like Portlandia freaking like eighth wave feminism. Whatever. Someone says sports are meant to be played, not to be watched. It's extremely gay to be a fanboy of a team that doesn't give two shits about you. All right, I have a theory, but I don't know. Sports are definitely meant to be played, but I also think it's okay to watch sports. It's just you have to be able to multitask. I love playing sports. I like watching sports. I'm a man's man when it comes to sports. I like it. I like talking about it. You can say that that's gay if you want. I don't really care. But in general, when it comes to sports, like, I think there's a Bill Cooper clip where he said there's men out there that don't know anything about anything except for who plays third base on the Mets or the Yankees. And in my opinion, that's where it becomes a problem. Can you watch sports but play sports, or can you watch sports but do something of your own? Like, do you have knowledge about what's going on in the world? Are you adding value? If all you know is sports and you're not working out and you're not taking care of yourself and you're just rotting on the couch and somebody asks you about like something and you know nothing, now, like, it shouldn't be the number one priority in your life. But, and you can call me a loser or whatever. I like sports. I like watching them. I like playing them. But you could tell it's not the only thing I do. I make music. I'm making a music video. I have a job. I'm very well versed on what's going on in the world. I can oppose the propaganda when it comes up in sports. So to me, it's about being able to multitask versus making it your entire identity and having nothing that you're working on as a man. I think every man, when you have purpose in this world, it makes you feel better. And even if it's like, any sort of purpose, like any sort of servitude to your countrymen, obviously like military is a big one, but even let's just say you work as a cashier, you're talking to 100 people a day. That gives your life purpose. You're helping people. It's like you go to the barista, you talk to them. So I think, there's jobs. Everybody should have some sort of job and be doing something. When you don't have a job and you're just like sitting around, not only is it not productive, but it actually makes you miserable. But then also, like, outside of your job, maybe your job is your passion and you love your job. That's fine. It doesn't matter what you do. If you love what you're doing and you feel purpose through your job, then I think that's enough. But if you don't feel purpose through your job, or like let's just say you're working for a company that you absolutely despise, you think they're doing terrible business. Um, I think every man, it's important to have other aspirations in life, whether maybe it's just going to the gym, maybe it's, having a passion project, maybe it's writing poetry or something. I don't really know, but I think it just serves the world, but also serves yourself to be able to do more than just watch sports. Just watching sports, it's not super fulfilling, and it's kind of like a dead end if it's like all you can do. But, someone said you could watch your men in tight slobber piles. I don't know. I'm not trying to judge anybody because anybody can have whatever hobbies they want. But for me, I've been able to parlay watching sports into meeting athletes, interviewing them, going to events and stuff. Not that you have to do that to like sports, but I'm not overly judgmental of someone who just likes sports. I don't, but you can be if you want. I just think, like Bill Cooper said, if it's all you know and it's all you do, then you're not, it's not really probably the best thing. Someone said I watch billiards. That's an obscure thing to watch. I'm a fan of like greatness. I like great athletes. I like great music. I just like the Olympics can be cool when someone does something amazing. I like human excellence, I like people that build great things or can do so. That's probably my favorite thing about sports. I just like seeing people eh, achieve human excellence, maximizing the human experience. There's nothing wrong with listening to a good song, and it doesn't make you like a loser. It's like, oh, I listened to this Outcast song and he's a good rapper. I don't think that makes you a loser. I think you're enjoying human excellence. If you think Bohemian Rhapsody is amazing, it's like, it is. It's an incredible song. Freddie Mercury was wildly talented and like amazing at like music creation. That doesn't make you like lame. I think competition is manly, and I think enjoying human excellence is it's better than envy. You don't want to envy someone else great. You want to be inspired by it. So I like chess. I like everything. I don't know. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, you're so pessimistic and stuff." I'm really not. I'm a very joyful person. I just for some reason by a mistake got into like news journalism. And my job as a journalist is not to like suck off the government and Donald Trump and Ted Cruz. My job is to tell the truth to the American people. Sometimes I wish I didn't do this. I mean, I don't like spend that much time on it because I'm grateful, but it's not a good job for somebody as joyful and optimistic as me, because if I'm just like lying to people and be pretending to be joyful, then I'm not doing my job. Then I got to quit and do something else. So, sometimes I'm like, why do I even do this? Because like every day, my job is to basically roll in the mud with pigs and like see through lies, or to give you something honest. And it is very tiring. And it can be like not fun, but at the same time, I view it like this. Being in the NFL could be one of the most awesome things you could do. Like imagine being a quarterback of a football team. You get all the women, right? Everybody loves you. Like everybody's a fan of you. You're playing a game and making millions of dollars. But the downside is you might get hit in the head so many times, you might get dementia. Everything in this world, you're a motocross guy and like all you do is like crazy flips and stuff. You could land on your head. Like anything, joining the military, anything great requires sacrifice. So it's like you can't just sit around and feel bad for yourself. Or like, do I sometimes wish I did something else? I guess because I don't like the fact that I can't be positive and optimistic all day because I have to do journalism, which unfortunately is calling out the fact that 97% of our government's compromised, and trying to unwind that and create a system that actually works for us and not donors. That's the whole, like, I could solve I could solve politics for people in 2 minutes. It's just they don't want to listen in the big amounts. I'm not saying anybody, and then they'll listen to it and be like, "Well, what's the solution?" It's like I just told you the solution, but it requires a majority of people to figure this out. And if everybody, like, let's just say 50% of the nation figured this out and got on the same page, it would force a change because we're able to beat massive amounts of propaganda if we all come together. And to be fair, that's why I care so much about the Thomas Massey race. When I felt that Bernie Sanders was the outsider, and I honestly believe I was wrong at this point, although I will say he was the one that they did not want. They wanted Hillary Clinton. That's kind of the driving force behind why I like Bernie Sanders. I didn't even know what socialism was. I didn't, to be honest, and you could say I was stupid or something, but I didn't pay attention to politics. I didn't even know what liberalism was. These were not terms that I was familiar with because I didn't care about politics at all. But I was inspired because I didn't want the establishment to just pick Hillary Clinton. Then when it came to Trump, I felt like the establishment was against Donald Trump, so I started doing reporting, calling out literally the fake news. With Thomas Massey, this is a bigger case than even Trump or Hillary. It's a guy in Kentucky who's going against four Zionist billionaires who are trying to kick him out because he works for America and not Israel. So, to be fair, the reason I care so much about this race is because it's like if we lose this race, the American people lose this race to the four Zionist billionaires, they're proving that money can buy an election in Kentucky. Because if they never got involved with their money, he would have won by a landslide. Thomas Massey is incredibly popular, but they're spending millions of dollars in a small race in order to brainwash people in Kentucky to vote him out. Like this is like, I'm not going to say the 1 yard line, but if we win this, we prove that we can beat four billionaires with millions of dollars. And if we lose, it proves that they can just buy our Congress. So that's the whole story. And in order to beat them, it starts with racists like Thomas Massey. But real quick, I made this Instagram reel or TikTok or whatever you want to call it. And most people understood it. And some people got mad. I'll play it right now. And they're like, what's the solution? You're so negative. I'm not negative. I'm optimistic. I'm joyful. I like watching greatness and in all forms of human excellence. But this is my, like, when people realize that this is how politics works and they reject it, it will change. If you buy into Trump's fighting the left or, Adam Schiff is fighting Trump, it's never going to end. So it's like the solution is simple, but it requires people dropping their bias and emotions over politicians and just simply telling the truth. Like I don't view this as pessimistic or negative at all. It is literally true of how politics works. It's just a matter of, do people want to realize this is how it works, or do people want to lie to themselves and pretend that they're optimistic by just being foolish? Like that's literally the whole thing. But here's a 2-minute clip, and I mean, this is like literally the entire system right now. Nearly all of Congress, both parties, and both major presidential candidates are backed to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, by mega donors and corporations. The left tells the left what they want to hear. The right tells the right what they want to hear. And then as soon as the election's over, there's another chance at the inauguration funding for corporate donors who didn't back the president who won to dump a bunch of money in and get in his good graces. Now, Trump won the presidency, the House, the Senate, and the popular vote, and he's set to lose definitely the House and possibly even the Senate after it was locked up just a few months ago. If you actually believe Republicans are sent to serve conservatives and not their donors, then you might believe that they're as upset as you that liberals are going to take back power. But here's the dirty little secret in Washington. They don't care. Donors dump money into them. They do what the donors want. The donors are absolutely thrilled with Trump's presidency because they got everything they wanted out of it. They'll suck the Republican Party dry. Republicans will lose to the Democrats. Republicans will then cry victim and fundraise and make a lot of money pointing to the left, just like the left wing is now pointing to Donald Trump to make a lot of money to get back into power. And then when the left gets into power, they're going to disappoint their fan base because they work for the same people as the Republicans. And then they'll just keep flip-flopping back and forth until the end of time. Once enough Americans figure this out and stop obsessively either loving Donald Trump like he's a hero, he's absolutely not, he's one of the biggest con artists and sellouts in modern conservative history, or hating Donald Trump so much that you believe the people that are pretending to fight him when in reality they're either working for the same people or just as phony as he is. When people wake up to that, America has a chance to elect actual people that aren't controlled. But until then, it's Charlie Brown with the football, it's a carousel that never ends, and the donors have no issues running their true agenda through a Democrat or a Republican. Let me know what you think in the comments. God bless you. Yeah, so I'll give you guys an example of what I just said there. There's a guy who's, I think, the CEO of Palantir or the co-founder, Alex Karp. Everybody knows Peter Thiel. He's very popular on the right. But a lot of people are finding out about Alex Karp because his hair's all he's always he just looks like he's like, woo, ah. It's like, all right, relax, bro. But anyway, Alex Karp is, I think, the CEO of Palantir. he was pro Kamala, right? He came out against Trump. He was pro Kamala in the 2024 election. And then Kamala loses to Donald Trump. After the election, there's something called the inauguration funding, which I talked about there. And then he gave $1 million to Trump, and Trump raised hundreds of millions of dollars. Biden raised like 60 to 80 million, and Trump took it between 100 and 200 million. Like he's like blowing records of being a sellout. Even though Biden sucks, this is just the reality. When I say that, the dumb person will be like, well, the left. And it's like, bro, I know you want to think I'm a liberal or something because everyone against Trump's a liberal. In my mind, I'm more socially and fiscally conservative than Trump. I consider Trump a liberal, but I don't feel like arguing about it. This is just how politics works. And until people realize that everyone is for sale, essentially, it never ends. And it's like, do you want it to do you want to improve the system or do you not? Uh, and I don't know. Right now, I think a lot of people don't want to, so everything just stays the same. Someone in the comments, the 500 guy, I know you're here a lot. I don't know what your whole name is, $500 fine. He's like, you voted for Trump, so you want this or whatever. I want to be clear about this because there's a lot of angles to it. First of all, if you watch my video of Trump, I don't trust Donald Trump. I didn't tell people to trust Donald Trump. I didn't endorse Donald Trump. I didn't tell people to vote for Donald Trump. I told people I don't really care if they vote because it doesn't really matter that much. I just said, this is what I'm doing. This is why. This is what he's actually going to do. He's going to close the border. And this is what he might do with the health department and the wars. With the health department, he's underachieved, I think. And he's, strong arming RFK Jr. So he went under that bar. And then when it comes to the wars, he absolutely did not come through at all. But I never said he would. And I'm not trying to compare, but I know like Dave Smith, for example, I see people talking about it there. People were like, Dave Smith said Trump was going to stop the wars, this and that. Dave Smith really went hard for Trump. And it's like, I don't care. I like Dave Smith, but it's like, I didn't do that. I don't know what he did, but people were like, he said this and that. Go watch my video. I never said Trump's definitely going to do it. And then there's people that'll say like, if you don't vote for Trump, then you can't criticize him. Well, somebody's going to tell me I can't have my First Amendment and do journalism. Either it's going to be millions of people saying, if you don't vote for Trump, then you're not a Trump guy, or you have no say. And then there's going to be like, you voted, so now you can't do journalism and tell the truth. I've been telling the truth about Trump forever, but especially I've been more critical since 2020. I didn't trust him. I told people during the primary that Trump was overrated and he wasn't as good as everyone was saying. And then I voted, but I don't think it really matters that much. If I vote or don't vote, it doesn't matter. Like voting in California, it doesn't even like achieve anything. So if I sat and said it's going to achieve something, the wars are going to end for sure, I never said that. I don't care. So there's always going to be someone telling me that my journalism is now devalued because I did or didn't vote, but I've never claimed that it really matters that much. It's your choice whether you want to vote or not. I think a message was sent when Trump and Republicans won everything, and Trump unwound it for his donors within a year. But whether Trump wins or loses, the question is, when will people realize how the system works and what will accelerate that? So anyone that has a theory of what will accelerate people waking up, I'm open to hear it, but I don't really care that much. And if you really felt that way about my journalism or whatever, why do you watch every single show? All right, Esla, he said, I was jailed and kicked out of Texas GOP 2 years ago for criticizing Zionists. I'm running against Dan Patrick for governor. You could help me get popular. Ignored me 3 times. The Zionists won, we lost. Thank you for the super chat. You've had a lot of fans in here as well, but I can't sway the scales of the election. I saw that you got under 2% or 1%. So I can't like change an entire election, but I appreciate your support, but I could literally campaign for you. I don't campaign for politicians or endorse people, but I could campaign for you every single day of my entire life and you still wouldn't get over 5%. So, it's not my fault. I'm sure a lot of other people that held you back and did stuff that wasn't me. Let me see. Someone said Trump himself said he was going to stop all the wars and there would be no more wars. He did say that, but he obviously lied. But all right. Someone said, Ryan on Facebook said, I see you grow along the years. This has been a journey. I changed over the years as well. If you're not growing pure form, then you're real. For sure. I guess it's up to everyone to decide if you're changing in the better direction or you're like changing in a more compromised direction, and everybody has their interpretation of it. But I would say before I got into politics, I thought it was all a lie and everybody was controlled. And then I kind of thought Trump was the real deal. And then I came kind of back to where I was like, oh, it's all fake. So I kind of did like a circle, really. Before I got into the 2016 election with Bernie and Trump, I was like, oh, the bankers control everything. Everybody's a puppet. And then I guess I got tricked, to some extent. I was like, oh, but it did feel real for a minute, and I'm wrong, but, there were people like David Icke and stuff that were like, "Nah, Trump's a puppet." And I was like, "Nah, I don't think so." And then I was like, "Oh, okay, I think David was right about that actually, damn it." So, I'll admit it. They're itching for a draft? I really hope not. Someone said, "Liberals or conservatives, let's unite, not divide." I agree. I guess some people are just so stubborn though. Like, let's just say you talk to a liberal and they agree with you on foreign policy. Not all the time, but a lot of times they're so stubborn that it's like, they don't, I don't know. Maybe that's changing, but the stubbornness, I think, from both sides has ha- stops people from like coming together over issues. And maybe that's just human nature. There's so much people have, like, say you're a liberal, right? And you're against the wars, but you're still like super liberal. You have like 15 years of like liberal programming where you just like still hate right wingers who agree with you sort of, but like maybe not as much. And then you go to the right, not everybody, but let's just say like you watch Fox News and Newsmax and like Ben Shapiro type stuff. Yeah, you might have some values, but it's like people need to shed their ego or shed their programming, and that's where you can kind of come together, or else it's just going to flip-flop. Like the Republicans were the super real ones for like 5 years, and Trump was being honest and our whole movement was awesome. And now it's getting to the point where Trump's lying so much, now he's letting left-wingers be more honest, and I don't like to see that because I'm not liberal. But like now you have really compromised people in Congress being like, oh yeah, Trump's doing this on behalf of Israel. Adam Schiff came out and did some sort of bill where he said he doesn't want prediction markets across all 50 states to be legal. I don't like Adam Schiff, but I agree. I don't like the prediction markets. It's basically legalized gambling where you can gamble on war. So, like, think about how bad Trump's administration and all his friends are, that Adam Schiff is now telling the truth, that Chris Murphy is telling the truth. I don't trust Adam Schiff. I don't trust Chris Murphy or whatever his name is, but this is how it works. During George Bush, liberals were more honest. During Obama, Republicans were more honest. First 4 years of Trump, he was more honest. Second 4 years of Trump, liberals are honest again. It just never ends. And that's why your baseline has to be reality and truth, not what Trump's saying. Because if I like Trump, it's based off of him being honest. It's not because I believe him. I already know something, and then he says it, and then I'm like, oh, he's being honest. But then if he flips on me, it's not a lifetime allegiance to Trump. Like I'm like, yeah, I don't like this guy anymore. He just keeps lying all the time. So it's sad to me, who I feel like, one of many, but not, and I'm not like a top 20, I don't think, person or anything by that means, but a lot of us and a lot of people and a lot of you worked so hard for more conservative side of the equation to be honest, work so hard to get the culture more real and to beat the fake left, Democrat establishment culture. And I feel like Trump's throwing it all away because he's the leader of the movement. And now he's lying so much. He's got Adam Schiff and Chris Murphy outflanking him, and being like, oh yeah, this is why we're doing it. And I'm like, it's not good when the left starts being honest again, because we know that they're not doing it from a place of morality. They're just like, oh, look at the Epstein files. Then they win and they're not going to do anything. So um, we'll see. Someone said, all right. Someone said, go back and change your registration to D. Why is that? Like, is that the new Republic? You're always here, my guy, and I appreciate you. But like, yeah, go be a like, is that the new campaign strategy? Just telling people who are more conservative than Trump to be Democrats. It's like the new strategy. Yeah, get out of here. We don't want your vote. Really? You won the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the popular vote last election, but now you're going to tell tens of millions of people to register as a Democrat? Aren't you supposed to want people to register as a Republican? I don't get it. He wasn't talking to me. I guess you're talking to someone else, but whatever. I mean, everyone has theory. I see what some people are saying in the comments. Everyone has theories about like how to fix it, but and maybe I'm alone in this. But I think the solution is just enough people waking up to that fact. It's like a viewership thing. If everybody watches a certain show, it makes a lot of money. If people tune into something else, they lose their value and they lose the funding. So, can we beat candidates? I think the weird part is the left. This is what I see happening. It's already happening, and it's not a good sign if you're conservative, at least. The left wing, their young voters, they don't want people associated with AIPAC or Israel. So they're going to start replacing establishment Democrats with progressives that are more like Mamdani that are not working for Israel. The issue is a lot of these progressives, if you're a conservative, they're socially dumber than Nancy Pelosi, but they just are not controlled by the Israel lobby. So the Democrats are already starting to do this, and their party's starting to twist to it a little bit. But, at some points, they're probably going to put up like full blown resistance to it. On the right would naturally be doing that right now because that's where like the power of the movement is. But Donald Trump is the quarterback of the Republican Party, and he's like the chief Israel lobby quarterback. He's trying to oust everybody in Congress who doesn't work for the establishment in the deep state. So he's actually like the inverse Donald Trump. He ran on draining the swamp. The swamp has not been drained. Now he's doing his demented demon inversion, and he's trying to get rid of the non-swampers. It's Rand Paul, it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, it's Thomas Massey who are the rhinos, while he endorses Lindsey Graham and all these people. So it's like Trump is actually now holding the party back because he's going to sit around the party and try to stop anybody who doesn't work for the Israel lobby into the Republican Party. So what do I think is going to happen if people on the right don't wake up? The left is going to be overtaken by more communists. The right is going to be clogged with the Marco Rubios of the world. And then the left is going to start winning elections. And if you're conservative, you don't want communists to win the elections. But this is like Trump. He's ensuring that we lose the House for sure. We might lose the Senate now, which was unthinkable 7 months ago. And I think it's going to be really hard for Rubio or I would say JD Vance to run for office. If you think about the psychology of like the last, 15 years of presidencies, George Bush was in office, but he was legacy. Then the internet and the media started shifting, right? The internet came out. Oh, it didn't come out, but it started becoming like more accessible. Obama won. Why did Obama win? Because he wasn't well known. He had no real track record to be like, oh, he's an establishment rhino or Democrat or whatever, dino. He just was like some kind of cool half black, half white guy who's like, I play basketball, okay? Okay. I like Kendrick Lamar, okay? And they're like, oh, okay, let's give this guy a chance. Change will come. Yay, we freed America or whatever. He won for 8 years just off of his swagger and, not having a track record. Once he had a track record and it was just as bad as everyone else, then they voted for Donald Trump. Why did Donald Trump win? Did Donald Trump win because he had a lifelong attachment to Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham? No, Donald Trump won because he was an outsider. So he was able to run on, you're all liars. You're a fraud. You pay off politicians. You take donor money. You're an Adelson puppet. Like he cooked them all, just pointing to what clowns they were. And then he won and became that puppet. And, the Biden, I would say presidency is sketchy because of COVID. And it's just like random, like everybody had mass mail-in ballots and it was just like a time of lockdown. So it's like Biden is I would say the anomaly of the word, not me, but he is the anomaly of the group. And then Trump won again once everybody realized what a fraud Biden was. But the point that I'm getting to is Rubio and JD Vance, they're not going to be able to use that outsider. Like if JD Vance wasn't in government, he could be like, oh yeah, that was a mistake. The wars were a mistake. But because he's the vice president, he's like Caroline Leavitt. He's a parrot. He has to agree with Donald Trump or else he gets thrown out. So even if he ideologically disagrees, which he might not, But like, I don't personally believe that Marco Rubio or JD Vance can win the election. I think that when it's all said and done, if Gavin Newsom runs against him, that he's going to be leading the polls. So then it comes like, who will come? If anyone comes that's not establishment and disagrees with Trump, Trump is going to knock them down and say that they look bad. But the only way to win the next election is to break away from Donald Trump, because Donald Trump went from the House, the Senate, the presidency, and the popular vote to losing the youth. He's now losing all of those things. Like, there's tangible evidence that Trump had everybody and he's lost like 80% of his fan base. You'll find out in the midterms. So the only person who can run as a Republican and win is somebody that distances themselves from Donald Trump. But anybody that distances themselves from Donald Trump is going to destroy. And he has too many fans in the Republican Party. So Trump is going to ruin 2028. He's already ruined Marco Rubio's chances. He's ruined JD Vance's chances. And anybody that pops up that won't just completely suck him off, he's going to ruin their chances too. So it's like, dude, Trump is going to be the demise of the modern movement. He built it up, he grew it tall, and then he knocked it down. That's my analysis. I hope it's not true, but there's no way he's going to endorse a real candidate. The candidate that Trump endorses, he's going to have to, like bow down to Trump, or else why would Trump endorse him? And if you bow down to Trump, you're kind of a cornball at this point, and you're going to lose a lot of people. Someone said Newsom and Fishback are basically on par about Israel. I don't think it's genuine for either of them. We're going to have to be vigilant. Time will tell about the Fishback guy. I mean, he's running an interesting campaign, but time will tell like who he is or what he really means. And then with Newsom is absolutely under the thumb of the Israel lobby. Maybe not as much as other politicians, but he's like, oh, I don't even know who AIPAC is. I know who J Street is. So to be fair to Newsom, I don't know if this changed. Newsom has never adopted the IHRA anti-Semitism definition into California, to my knowledge, unless he did it this year or last year. So I still think he's like under the thumb of the Israel lobby, but not as much as the Republicans and Democrats who passed that. So, he takes a lot of heat because he won't pass that. It doesn't make me like him at all, but that if you pass the IRA definition of anti-Semitism into your state, you're a puppet. If you won't, you still could be a puppet, but you're not completely caving. And that's the interesting part. If you do your research about like past politicians, you could find times, even though Nancy Pelosi absolutely sucks, there's been times where the Israel lobby pressures Nancy Pelosi and her mega donors, like the one she was on stage with when she was like, if our Capitol crumbled to the ground, we'd still be giving them aid. There's been times where they put pressure on Pelosi and she says no. There's been times where they put pressure on Gavin Newsom and he says no. Trump, I believe, and this is really sad to admit, but I think he provides the least resistance to the Israel lobby we've ever seen. Like, every president has wrestled with it and lost to some extent, but Trump isn't even trying to wrestle with it. So it's really weird. You could look up like a Truman quote just came out on WikiLeaks. Go look at the Truman quote. Go look at the Nixon quotes. Look what happened to JFK. I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. But, like every president of our lifetime has wrestled to some extent with the Israel lobby. JFK as well. I mean, that's like provable while he was alive with the nuclear stuff. But Trump's not even like, he's just like, do whatever you want, which is like, this is what we have to choose from in America. Either we get Nancy Pelosi, who's horrible, Gavin Newsom, who's horrible, or Donald Trump, who just bends over and says, do whatever you want. Like, it's not a real country, And then it's like, oh, you can't vote for Biden. Yeah, of course not. Biden is like a demented demon also. He's just a different demented demon. I don't want the next election to be demented demon versus demented demon. But we have the tools in this country. Like, as much as you could complain and be like, oh, it's so corrupt, this is the problem. We have transparency laws that show you who people are taking money from. We have the ability to beat the propaganda. It's not going to be easy. And to the guy in the comment section that I know you lost big in the lieutenant governor, it's hard to, I don't know your exact race, but it's going to be hard for anyone to compete with massive amounts of donor money, but it is possible. And sometimes it takes time and it takes strategy, I think, to some extent, because there have been, like, for example, Thomas Massey, He's won every seat for the last 15 years. And now they're ramping up multiple millions of dollars of donations. It's not going to be easy, but it is possible, I think, to beat the lobbyists in the lobby. It just requires more and more people paying attention over time. And I think that, we're getting closer, especially unfortunately on the left. They understand this. The right, Trump is stopping people from understanding it. And that's what makes the whole Charlie thing that much crazier is Charlie Kirk was like the middle ground, but the powerful youth figure that was starting to sway to the side of Tucker Carlson. And now he's gone. And it's like now they're trying to act like that wasn't happening, even though like it kind of was. He was kind of like playing both sides and they didn't like it. So it's, we'll see what happens. But in my opinion, as great as Trump has been in some ways, he's going to be the biggest problem for Republicans because he's going to try to stop any Thomas Massie from getting through. We have to, like this election, in my opinion, Thomas has to win. If they realize that they can just get rid of him, then, I think the Republican Party's kind of cooked. And I'm not a pessimist, but it's like he's got to win this election. If he loses, they're going to buy every election forever. And it's going to be way too easy. Someone said the IDF are also training New York Police Department troops, and the IDF troops are training ICE. That is actually true. That is true, which is just kind of weird. But I don't know. I think it's like, can we not train our own police officers? Like, why would they have to train with them? I don't get it. Someone said Virginia voters just elected Spanberger as a governor, and now they're complaining about the swift increase in tax of progressive policies. I mean, why would you vote for a former CIA agent? You know what I'm saying? Like that's what they do in Virginia. They're like, I don't like Republicans, so I'm going to vote a lady who works for the CIA and wants to raise my taxes. It's like, why? Like, why are people so dumb? And people need to smarten up. I think I don't know what else to really say, but I think there's been a lot of progress and people need to get wiser because wise people get wise results. Dumb people get dumb results. So we need to, increase awareness among the population. We're getting close, but I think that was a bad one. And not to blame everything on Trump, but I do think that he is the quarterback of the Republican Party. So when things are good, it's easier to get Republicans in. And when he blows it more, he makes it harder for Republicans to win, and gives a lane for a Democrat. Where is Tulsi? I mean, Tulsi it's like Trump absorbed some real people and just made them like completely useless. So Tulsi's probably in over her head. So I don't know. I mean, she's clearly not saying much. I think he's kind of destroyed Tulsi's legacy and he's kind of destroying RFK's legacy. And now all these people in the Trump administration, it's a really tough spot to be in. Like, do you leave? Say RFK said, I don't want to attach my legacy to Trump anymore. He's ruining my everything I worked for and my respect and, my honor. Like, if you leave, now you have no power. You can't do the few little things that he was letting you do. But then also Trump will destroy you. You know what I'm saying? Trump is so selfish and so graceless and so arrogant and so selfish. He would make a mockery of anybody who left his administration and try to make him look bad. So it's like now they're kind of caught in between a rock and a hard place, in my opinion. I don't know what Tulsi's thinking, but RFK's got to be thinking like, dude, Trump is taking 40 years of goodwill that I've earned and making me look like a clown and ruining my reputation. It sucks, it sucks for him. It sucks for everybody in Trump's administration, but I would say the only ones who probably even slightly care are RFK and Tulsi. The rest of them, I don't think they've been waiting for this moment their whole lives. So we'll see. They can get jobs at Fox. Yeah, of course. All right. I got a few more minutes, then I'm going to roll out. Someone said, send a message to Republicans. We won't vote regardless of betrayal. I think they're going to find out in this election. And, they're going to realize, as much as they're trying to lie about it now, and this is my public message to everybody, really, like, and not that they're listening, but like, I'm just going to be as polite as I possibly can be right now, right? To the Trumps of the world, to the Dan Bonginos of the world, to the, all these people that are talking about panicants and doomers, etc. This is my pitch and this is my honest message, right? I voted for Trump in 2018, all Republican. I voted all Republican in 2020. I voted all Republican in 2022. I voted all Republican in 2024. I'm not liberal. I'm fiscally and socially more conservative than Donald Trump. I don't like Joe Biden. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a communist. I'm not AOC. I'm not any of these things. I'm conservative, right? In my ideology, I'm more conservative than Trump. I understand that Republicans are better than the left on certain issues. But here's my issue to the Dan Bonginos of the world, to the Trumps of the world, to all of these people, to the Leo Terrells of the world, and people like this that just cry anti-Semitism all the time. I want American politicians to serve America. Thomas Massey does a great job. Charlie liked Thomas Massey. Most people like Thomas Massey. He's a nice guy. That's what I like. I like people that vote for the First Amendment over Israeli speech policing. I like people who vote for American interests, not spending bills that raise the deficit and tax us in other ways besides just taxes. Because all inflation, when you print money and spend it, the purchasing power has gone down. The average house versus wage is completely destroyed in this country. I like the Thomas Masseys of the world. I liked Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay, I'm tired of being slandered as a liberal. I'm tired of being slandered as a anti-Semite. I'm tired of being slandered as a hater of certain people for wanting to serve the Constitution and just values that make sense for conservatives. If this is the way that Dan Bongino and Trump and Republicans want to go, they want to take $250 million from Miriam Adelson, admit that they think she likes Israel more than America, admit that she only asked for things for Israel. So then Trump does things for Israel because he's getting paid $250 million, pass speech laws and speech rules in America for Israel, police speech for Israel, and these weird, obscure anti-Semitism laws that could get you arrested in Argentina or Germany. Now they're trying to say it's not legally binding, but now they're trying to just accuse American citizens of hate speech because they're just telling the truth about these topics. If that's the direction you want to go, if you want to go the direction of Lindsey Graham and Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, who did not like you when Trump claimed to be against the wars and stuff, and now you're replacing all of us with the Mark Levins and Lindsey Grahams, I'll never vote again because it's at the point now. I don't believe that Trump is really even that conservative. Did he close the border? Yes, and I'm grateful for that. And I hate the fact that Democrats want to open it up. It's insane. But outside of that, which is a huge issue, what are they really doing? You're not fiscally conservative. You print trillions of dollars. Every election they run like they're Thomas Massey and Ron Paul and, you know what I'm saying, Murray Rothbard, and they're going to stop the spending and stop the deficit. And then they print trillions of dollars and they print money like Obama on steroids. They print money like Karl Marx if he was on Ozempic. I don't know why I said that, but I thought it was funny. It's like, that's what so you're not fiscally conservative. You print money and then you call me a liberal for wanting to do what you ran on. You're not even really socially conservative that much. Yes, more socially conservative than the left, but is that the new shtick? We took the pronouns off the bombs and then we sent them to Ukraine anyway. We took the pronouns off the bombs and then we gave them to Israel, just like Joe Biden did. It's like, that's the best you can do? Yeah, I get it. I don't want people that were born biologically men to beat the crap out of women in swimming and stuff. Sure, yeah, I agree. But is that it? Like, that's all you guys can provide? You're not really doing anything fiscally. You run on policies that I support, and then when you go against them, you start blaming me and slandering my name. So it's like, if this is the Republican Party that Trump wants to please his dual loyalty donors, to push anti-Semitism policing in America, to rig the immigration process for Israel and try to police social media of incoming immigrants and make sure that they're loyal to Israel, then I don't want to vote. I want Republicans to lose if that's the case, until there's 100 Thomas Masseys and not one. So Trump is like a demented demon, in my opinion. He has the complete inverted ideology that I have, and I can't ever vote for Republicans again, as much as I want to locally. You know, if someone's taking money from AIPAC or the Israel lobby, I'll never vote for a Republican that takes money from the Israel lobby again. It's really a simple solution for Republicans. Serve America, serve the First Amendment, serve the Constitution, have the foreign policy that George Washington envisioned, have the foreign policy that Trump campaigned on. You know, do what Trump said he was going to do in 2016. That's all you have to do. You've lost the youth under 30 by exorbitant amounts, and calling them anti-Semites is not going to get them back. It's like shaming the people who literally just voted for you 9 months ago. You got Dan Bongino, who said he was going to join the deep state to fight the deep state, comes out of the deep state and stops talking about fighting the deep state. Now he's pissed off at 3-time and 2-time Trump voters who want to criticize Donald Trump. Not only is that my First Amendment right to criticize the person I voted for, it's my duty as an American to side with my country and the truth and God and the Constitution over a politician who takes $250 million from a lady who he thinks likes a foreign country more than America. So Dan Bongino, stop fighting American citizens who want to talk about the president. When I talk about Joe Biden, I know that he's not going to do anything for me because he's a demented demon to a crazy amount, and he's got liberal people to please. So even though, of course, I do journalism about Joe Biden, I'm even more offended when it's the person I voted for. I'm even more offended when it's the person that's supposed to support my values, because that's the guy that I want in office. You know, I wanted Tulsi Gabbard in office. I wanted RFK in office. I would rather a Dan Bongino than a freaking whoever the other guy was that was in the FBI at the time. You know, I don't want a a Merrick Garland at the DOJ. I don't want Mayorkas with the border open. So not only am I allowed to disagree with the president of the United States, it actually makes more sense because these are the people that are supposed to be supporting my values. So don't get out of the deep state as a deep state person and start waging an internet war on Trump voters. You're going to see how many people you lost and the arrogance and the hubris to just bash these people who are trying to criticize the president to get things that they voted for, because Trump isn't that interested in pleasing us. I don't have Miriam Adelson money. I don't have money of Paul Singer or Paulson or Mellon or Elon Musk. We don't have that much money. I didn't dump hundreds of millions of dollars into Trump like the corporations did for his inauguration. I'm not funding his ballroom like the crypto bros and the Adelson family and the Lutnicks, from what I read, and Lockheed Martin and all these weapons contractors who are going to make a fortune because Trump started a war. I don't have that type of money. All I have is my First Amendment. All I have is my vote, and all I have is my podcast. So how dare you, Dan, to just sit up here and act like everybody's so bad who voted for Trump? I'm not a liberal. I'm more conservative than Trump fiscally and socially. I think Trump's liberal compared to he doesn't even care that much about this stuff. It's like, yeah, he's against illegal immigration until his business friends say they need more illegals to make more money because nobody wants to work. Now Trump is lenient on illegal immigration. Trump runs against H-1B visas. And then when his friends want cheap labor, now Trump's pro H-1B visas. Trump's a liberal, not me. I'm not liberal. Trump is. Trump does whatever his friends want that pay him. And we're about to be replaced by artificial intelligence. There's going to be millions of jobs that are going to be cut by these companies in the next couple of years when they figure out that one person with AI can do the job of 5 people. We need people from India now on H-1B visas so Trump's friends who own casinos can have cheaper labor. No, this is more now than ever. We need to talk about illegal immigration and H-1B visas. Trump has no conviction on those because he talks to some rich dude who tells him he needs cheap labor. And now all of a sudden Trump doesn't even remember what he campaigned on because he doesn't care about the people who vote for him. He cares about the people dumping millions, tens of millions, and hundreds of millions of dollars into him. So I'm tired of these people slandering me as a liberal, slandering me as an anti-Semite, slandering me as all these stupid names because they want to take a bunch of money, serve donors that they know for a fact care more about a foreign country than America, and then turn around and piss on Americans and call us names and call us a hate speech word that they're passing. You think George Washington wanted you to police anti-Semitism for one race, one religion, and one foreign country? If a Saudi billionaire paid Donald Trump and we passed Saudi speech laws, I would be just against it. But you're telling me from 1776 until the 2010s, we didn't need anti-boycott laws to try to force American citizens into doing business with Israel. But from 1776 to 2010, they were wrong and anti-Semitic. And now, because the Republicans and the Democrats take so much Israel lobby money, now we need special laws in America that stop you from boycotting one foreign nation. From 1776 until 2017 or 16, we didn't have an IHRA definition that was invented in Europe in the 2010s. But now we need more than half of the states in America to adopt a definition of anti-Semitism that says you can't talk about dual loyalty, even though Trump's on stage saying he took $250 million from a woman who he thinks not only has dual loyalty, but has more loyalty to a foreign nation. And you're going to sit and call me, an American citizen, an anti-Semite for speaking truth about it? Excuse my language, but fuck you. Fuck you. I vote. I pay taxes, I vote Republican, I'm conservative, and you're going to say I'm committing hate speech for acknowledging that Trump is selling America out to a donor who gives him $250 million? Fuck you. Fuck any Republican that does that. You guys deserve to lose every election. You don't deserve my vote. And at this point, you're working against us just like Democrats are. You hate Americans who prioritize America over Israel. You hate Americans who won't take the money you guys are taking. You hate Americans who vote with the First Amendment of the Constitution over this obscure Israeli speech law that you passed into America in the 2010s because you got paid to do it. You hate Americans who have George Washington's foreign policy. Fuck you guys. I'm so fucking tired of these people. Stop calling me an anti-Semite. Stop calling me a liberal. I'm socially and fiscally more conservative than Donald Trump. I serve my country. I'm an honorable man. Something you guys know nothing of: honor. You know what honor is? Honor is when you turn down money. Honor is when you don't do little crypto scams to make a fortune while your supporters are losing money and you tell them, oh, don't worry, the gas is going up now and my oil baron friends are making money. Fuck you guys, okay? Honorable is me never selling a gambling ad in my life because I think it's immoral to push it on people. Honorable is me not caving to pressure from the lobby, even though they're going to morally blackmail me and lie about me and try to smear my family name for the rest of my life. That's called honor. When you actually serve your country and God and your family and the truth over money that people try to pay you, something you guys know nothing about. And then you're going to sit and get mad at Thomas Massie because he won't take a bunch of donor money. And then you're going to have 4 Zionist billionaires bankroll his opposition because you're pissed off that we have one congressman that prioritizes the American Constitution over Israel. Fuck you guys. I'm so tired of the slander. I'm so tired of the demented, demonic inversion that they're all doing. And the nerve of somebody to join the deep state, to fight the deep state and get out and wage a war on 3-time and 2-time Trump voters who are just pissed off that he's serving his donors and his corporate buddies over his constituents and has no moral conviction for anything that actually matters, but will cave on a dime when one of his rich friends tells him he needs cheaper labor. Fuck you guys. Okay. So that's my thought. I have honor. I have dignity. I'm not going to sell out to a foreign nation. And Americans like Thomas Massie or Tucker Carlson or any of these people who prioritize the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution and America First values over basically becoming a colony of Israel and tying hurricane aid like they do in Texas. In order to get hurricane aid in Texas, you have to do business with Israel. Why would they pass a law like that? What is going on in this country? And now you want to say we can't talk about it? And now you're going to slander the people who talk about it? At Kash Patel and Dan Bongino's FBI, they made a FBI rapid response Twitter account to respond to critics and criticism at the FBI. Were they going after liberals, right? They talk about liberals on Fox News all day. When the FBI made a rapid response account, did they start getting pissed off at AOC or Mamdani or any of these Muslims that they talk about on the left? Or no. The first 2 people that the FBI official rapid response Twitter account started going after were Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie. That's Dan Bongino and Kash Patel's FBI. They're more concerned with the most honest, honorable Republicans who won't sell out to the donors than they are the left that they cry about on Fox News every day. And then they have the nerve to call us liberals. You can't pay me enough. You can't do anything. I would literally rather die than be a fraud sellout like you guys. So it's like there's no price tag for what you guys are doing. It's disgusting. So that's my message to Trump, Bongino, all of these people. Stop lying. Stop slandering. It's not liberal. It's not hate speech. It's not anti-Semitism. It's people that prioritize America over a foreign nation. It's people that want free speech, not this obscure speech policing for one group. It doesn't work. And you guys know it doesn't work. You talk about how it doesn't work all the time. When Black people try to do it, you say it doesn't work. When Mexicans try to do it, you say it doesn't work. When liberals and women try to do it, you say it doesn't work. You can't just say everything's hate speech and then try to block people from talking. And you know what? You're completely right. But when it comes to one group, all of a sudden, all your values and all your morals and all your logic goes out the window. You can't police speech for that, but calling people anti-Semites every 5 seconds when they don't want to take money from lobbyists or stop talking about certain topics. Oh, that's really going to be a solution? And then you're going to use the same logic that liberals use on you, where they say, oh, Trump telling the truth is causing problems because, words lead to bad things. Isn't that what they said about Trump for 8 years when he told them the truth? Now you're going to say that about Tucker Carlson because he did a podcast talking accurately about something that you don't want him to, or inaccurately. If you want to believe that, then you can prove how he was inaccurate. Like he's the only one inaccurately podcasting. It's an absolute joke. So that's my message. I don't have that much power. I don't have that much money. I don't have that much, establishment support. But what I do have is I have honor. I have conviction to what I believe, and that's my message to them. I'm just watching how they operate is so slimy and so grimy. So we don't have a lifetime necessity to vote for people that hate us. I voted for you in 2018. I voted for you in 2020. I voted for you in 2024. I voted for you the last three elections, and now it looks like your entire intelligence community apparatus and president and administration hates the people I like the most. Hates Tucker Carlson. Hates Thomas Massey. Why? Why do you hate Thomas Massey so much? Because he brought out the Epstein files? Does that make you mad? Is it because he votes against foreign aid or obscure anti-Semitism condemnation bills? Because that's what Congress does. They condemn hate speech in a circle, but they never do anything for the American people. Do you hate us for believing what Trump campaigned on and what he said he was going to do and what Stephen Miller said he was going to do and what JD Vance said he was going to do? So how can you expect people to vote for a group of people in a party who literally hates you? You hate us just as much as Democrats do. How are we ever going to teach the Republican Party a lesson if we just keep voting for them? Yeah, I voted for you last time. I gave you one more chance because 2020 was disastrous, but 2016 to 2018 was all right. And this is what you do with it. So, at this point, of course, I don't want Democrats to win, but I also like Republicans deserve to absolutely lose the midterms. They absolutely should learn a message. And I think moving forward, my demands are not that hard, or at least what would inspire my vote, because it's not a demand. I get to vote. I have to pay taxes, so I get to represent myself when it comes to elections. I don't want somebody who takes money from APAC or donors that they believe care more about a foreign nation than America. I don't want to vote for somebody that passes an obscure definition of anti-Semitism into this country that didn't exist from 1776 until 2015. I don't want to vote for somebody that wages war on multiple time supporters instead of allows them to do citizen journalism. Like, I can't even imagine the hubris. Like, if I ever got into government and people started complaining, I'd be like, listen, here's why I don't want you to complain. I want you to agree with me. But I respect the fact that you're using your citizen journalism to demand what you want. Like, that makes total sense to me, even if I don't agree with it. They hate us. So, yeah, we don't want to vote for the left. I'm not voting for a Democrat. But at the same time, I think the future of Republican politics needs to be, you guys lose elections. Ted Cruz and Lindsey Graham's of the world, who basically seem like they serve Israel, need to get humiliated out of Congress and replaced with more Thomas Massey's of the world. And if you guys want to do that, then I'll consider voting again, because I like Thomas Massey. I liked Marjorie Taylor Greene. There's a few congressmen I like, but not many. And if you don't want to do that, then you're not getting my vote, and you're not getting millions of people's votes, and you're not getting 10 millions of people's votes. And once again, the hubris of the Dan Bonginos of the world to be like, oh, the black pillars and the doomers, millions of mothers and millions of people that don't normally vote Republican signed up and voted for Donald Trump because they believed in RFK Jr. and they liked his activism. That's one of the reasons Trump won the popular vote. Are these mothers who have been spent their entire lives trying to clean our food and get glyphosate and Roundup out of our food? Are they doomers and black pillars and your enemy that you're waging war on, Dan Bongino? Because they want exactly what they wanted 2 years ago, and Donald Trump's passing the executive order for glyphosate and providing new legal immunity shields. Like, now, you can't even respect these mothers who voted for Donald Trump last time because of RFK to say exactly what they said 3 months ago. Like, now they have to be pro glyphosate immunity executive orders because Trump did it. Like, what movement are these people building? Why do they think like, what do they think they're doing? I don't. It's like a king sitting in a golden room and they're all talking about how great they are, and then they're going to turn around after the midterms and be like, where did everybody go? Yeah, maybe you impress Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg at a tech meeting. Maybe you impress the CEO of Pfizer because you did a big socialist government deal with them. I'm sure you're impressing the weapons manufacturers and the mega donors who like Israel, who dumped hundreds of millions of dollars. Yeah, I'm sure they're thrilled. So if you hang out with them all day, you're the greatest person in the world. But the coalition you guys built in 2024 to win the House, to win the Senate, to win the presidency, to win the popular vote, it included me. And I'm not asking people like Dan and people like Trump to agree with everything I say, but now they're basically metaphorically and in some cases like publicly declaring war on their own voters and their own base. Don't be in my base, said Trump. If you're going with the Epstein stuff, you're out of my base. All right, well, there goes 20 million people. Oh, if you want to complain about glyphosate, get out of here. All right, well, there's 10 more people. If you want to criticize Trump and use citizen journalism to try to get what you voted for, you're a doomer and a panicking and an enemy. All right, well, there's 10 more. Like, how in the world is that the smart thing for these people to do? They're like drunk off power and their own hubris. It's wild to me that they even think that that's the right thing to do. It makes absolutely no sense. So the midterms, I'm not voting. I'm never voting again for someone who takes money from a foreign lobby, because I've done the research to figure out when people take money from lobbyists, they do what the lobbyists want. If they're taking money from the pharmaceutical industry, they often cave to the pharmaceutical industry. And I don't want that. I want a representative who represents me, not Pfizer and Moderna and Johnson & Johnson, me. And if you can't do that, then who cares if you win or lose? Like it doesn't affect me as much as you want to pretend like it does. It's not that hard to do, but they don't want to do it. So I'm not voting for someone who takes pharmaceutical money. I'm not voting for someone who takes money from a lobby and then will call me an anti-Semite. It's ridiculous. It's like, just because you take money from a lobbyist doesn't mean Dave Smith is an anti-Semite. He's a Jewish American who prioritizes America more than Israel. Aren't we supposed to have Jewish people who ideologically disagree? Like, is it a monolith? Every Jewish person in America has to support a foreign nation, but then you pass a hate speech rule that says that you can't say that's true, even though you're trying to force people to do it. Like, I don't want to be on. I mean, everyone has free speech, but it's like I'm on Twitter and Mark Levin's like, "Oh, you anti-Semite, you Nazi." It's like, bro, Dave Smith is Jewish. He just likes America. He's an American. That's what America's supposed to be. Someone comes from Africa. If you're not American, then why be here? If you're Jewish, if you're not America, why not go to Israel? But Dave Smith is an American who is not an Israeli. He's an American. That's what it means to be an American, right? If I cared about Poland more than America, then I'd go back to Poland. If I cared about Italy more than America, I'd just move to Italy. So why is like Republican America so mad at Jews and Christians and people of all races that prioritize America more than a different country? That's what we're supposed to do. So that's why I don't want to vote, because it's like the entire Trump administration apparatus seems to be like a police. If you don't support a foreign nation equally as much as America, then you're a bad person, and we're going to slander you as committing hate speech. And then they take it a step further, and they say, not only will we call you these words and these names, but we're actually going to accuse you of inspiring people to do messed up stuff because you're telling the truth about something we're lying about. It's like, I can't possibly want to vote for Republicans less. I'm not voting for a Democrat. I'm never voting for Democrats unless they can completely restructure and be not retarded. But I'm not voting for these Republicans who hate me. I'm not, I gave Trump, even though Trump was a piece of garbage during COVID, it seemed more just completely soulless and just like empty corporatism than it did like he really hated me. But I never really trusted Trump from that point on. But as soon as he gets in office, it's like, oh, it's pretty clear his whole administration, they hate the best conservatives. They hate the best Republicans. Like either it's an open tent or it's not. If you want to be an open tent Republican Party, I'm fine with it because I understand how politics works. But you can't be an open tent to Mark Levin and Lindsey Graham and then a closed tent to Dave Smith, myself, Tucker Carlson, and freaking, you know what I'm saying? Like now you have no room for us, but you have room for all the neocons. Then it's not an open tent. Like the message is so clear from Donald Trump. It's not like, oh, we get Mark Levin and we get Dave Smith. We get Mark Levin and we get Tucker Carlson. No, they only want the neocons. It wasn't like this 2 years ago. They've shown their true colors. They don't want us here. But what they don't admit is that Trump won in 2016 not by being Mark Levin or pretending to be George Bush. He won because he pretended to be more like Ron Paul. He won because he pretended to be more like Tucker Carlson. He won in 2024. You could find the tweets still from JD Vance, from Stephen Miller, from Donald Trump. You could still
find their tweets that said Kamala's going to get us into World War III. Kamala's going to start a war with Iran. It would be so stupid to do that. It would be so stupid to do that. I'll stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. All of their videos and tweets and interviews are still up. I didn't change. Now I can't say what I believed a year ago because Dan Bongino is going to yell at me and call me an enemy. And probably the FBI is going to view me as like a problem. I mean, it's nuts. Meanwhile, the literal terrorist who killed our service member in America yesterday was known by the FBI. He did a weapons deal with them. He said he wanted to do that, and he worked with ISIL, and they arrested him, and the DOJ lets him out of jail. What do you need to do to go to prison in this country for 20 years? You can do a weapons deal with a terrorist and an undercover agent, and they'll let you out in 9 years to kill somebody. But then they're going to sit on but the FBI's rapid response on Twitter, the first two people that they respond to is Tucker Carlson and Thomas Massie. And you want me to vote for these people? Either the Republican Party reforms or they get completely steamrolled by the Democrats, and hopefully eventually America First Republicans like Thomas Massie, or different than Thomas Massie, who don't accept donor money and explain why they vote the way they vote. What did Thomas Massie do so wrong? He says all the time, I want bills to be single voter bills. Just, one bill per idea. This way you could see who's voting yes or no. Instead, they cram 10,000 things in some giant bill, and then both parties pass them. And then you don't even know what's in it. Even Ted Cruz was mad at it in 2019. I don't even like Ted Cruz, but he did a great video on it in 2019 when Trump passed an omnibus. He's like, not only is this like a fiscally socialist bill, but it's funding all these left-wing things. This is when I stopped trusting Trump and the Republicans. Not that I did for that long, but it's like all these things they tell me they're against, they just voted for in this giant bill. And then if you point to it and be like, I don't like that bill, they're like, shut up, get out of my way, shut up. What's the point? So that's my pitch, long-winded, but passionate. God bless you. God bless everybody. But I have the power to vote or not vote. I have the First Amendment. And that's my message to the Trump administration. I'm not voting in midterms. Stop slandering me. Stop lying about me. Stop double speaking about people who voted for you. If you don't want people to have an opinion, then they get to choose whether to vote or not. So that's my friendly pitch, right? Either allow me to have a voice and at least pretend to care about the same things that you campaigned on, or if you're going to just shit on everybody who voted for you, don't expect to win, And it's like, they want us to care so much. It's like, oh my gosh, this and that's going to happen. Yeah, but also this and that happens when you're in office. So we understand that we don't want Democrats in. We understand that. We understand that we don't want liberals back in. But it's either you guys do nothing for the next 30 years or you lose a humiliating defeat and then hopefully learn a lesson. But, they're going to have the big money pushing them to do the things that their base doesn't want them to do. But I don't believe they're going to win the midterms. And I think they're screwed in 2028 when the next election comes. And it's like, stop blaming us. The Democrats did this and they lost the election. It's like, instead of trying to listen to their voters and stuff, they just yelled at them. In 2016, billions of people like Bernie Sanders. They could have been smart. Imagine if Hillary Clinton said, you know what, Bernie, I'm going to give you some useless position, right? I'm going to make Bernie Sanders the head of, morality or something. Like, just give him a fake position in your administration. She probably could have beat Donald Trump. But instead, the Democrats are like, you know what? We got 20 million people who registered Democrat who like Bernie Sanders. Screw you guys. You guys are wrong. I hate you. You're helping Trump. And then she lost the election because of her hubris. They probably don't care. But it's like, I'm watching the Republican Party make the same mistake as Hillary. You didn't win the election just because Trump was being Trumpy and talking about Operation Warp Speed. You brought in Tulsi Gabbard. You brought in RFK. That's why you won. And now you're just throwing everyone to the curb who has a slight disagreement. What are you doing? You know what I'm saying? I pray that they listen and I pray that they consider what I'm saying, because there's 20 to 30 million people who are ideologically conservative or pro-organic or anti-war, and they thought they had a home in the Trump administration. And maybe we're all fools, right? But is that really what you guys want? What are you going to do if you lose the next election? Blame us? Like, they take advantage of us so much, and all they do is take donor money and hang out with the people giving them millions of dollars. So the people giving them millions of dollars are like, we love you. We love what you're doing because you're working for us. And they're like, yeah. It's like 3 months ago, Trump saying, oil prices are down, gas prices matter so much because it's down 40 cents or whatever. And everyone's like, yeah, it matters so much. Thank you. And then they go up and Trump goes, actually, it's good that they go up because we actually make more money on the oil. Who's we? I don't own an oil company. Maybe I should, but I'm not making more money when the oil goes up. I'm paying more money. Every time you guys make money, I keep losing money. It's this weird thing where it's like, oh, we're locking down and we're doing this and we're doing that and we're starting war, but we're making more money. Who's we? The government's not making more money because they're going trillions of dollars into debt further and further and further. So we're not even accumulating more money as a country. Who's making the money? Who made all the money during COVID? I saw that the billionaires extracted more wealth than ever in modern history. I'm not one of them. I don't own Exxon or Sunoco or something. I don't know who's making the money, but he's like, hey, guys, it's okay. I know I just told you that prices going down are good, but now prices going up are good because we're making more money. We're not the we. And that's what the Trump administration needs to understand. They're too busy having dinners with Bill Gates and Miriam Adelson and all these celebrities and athletes who are telling them that their shit doesn't stink. So then they turn around to the public and they look at us like we're idiots. They're like, oh, shut up. Oh, you're a panicking. Oh, Thomas Massey's a loser. Oh, I'm waging war on people who voted for Trump who want to complain about it. What are you talking about? If I ever ran for office and I ever won, could you imagine if you voted for me and I won? And then I basically just waged war on you like Dan Bongino. I'm waging war on, it's like on the deep state. Oh, no. On the left. No. Oh, you're waging war on the right who voted for Donald Trump, who has slight disagreements. Like, could you imagine if I won and you were like, Anomaly, I voted for you for this reason and that reason, and I'm disappointed that you and governor, do you think I would like be like, screw you, you're a panicking, get off of my boat? I'd be like, no, like, I don't want to lose you. I apologize, or, give me time, or I would think of something to say to try to get you to support me still. But these morons in Congress and in Trump's administration, they're like, literally like, get out of here. If you want to talk about the Epstein stuff, go away. If you're mad at the pesticide stuff, screw you. If you like Thomas Massey more than Trump, we don't want you. If you voted for Trump 3 times, but you disagree with something he did, you're a panic and you're a doomer and we hate you. It's like, how, like, what are they doing? It's crazy to me that they're doing this, but I pray that they listen. And, honestly, most conservative people want conservative Republicans who serve America to win. But if you guys are not going to be America First Republicans and you're going to work for the donors, at bare minimum, you have to allow people to criticize your government. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? You can't draw the line. It's like they're more mad at Republicans who voted for them, who want to talk about them, than they are with like Mom Donnie. They complain about Mom Donnie so much. Look at Trump's post about Mom Donnie. He loves Mom Donnie. You have all these Trump supporters like, Mom Donnie's this, Mom Donnie's going to screw up New York. Go to Trump's True Social. How many Mom Donnie criticisms does he have? I don't even know of one. Maybe before the election, after the election, posting with Mom Donnie, interviews with Mom Donnie, gushing over Mom Donnie. But Thomas Massey's the real problem. It's like, who is this? That's my fault. He's nicer to socialist communist mayors who probably hate him than he is to his own people. He has more grace when he talks about, Gavin Newsom than when he talks about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like, that's not my fault. I want to win elections. I want Republicans to win, but only if they're going to serve us and not hate us. Simple request. God bless. Hope they listen. And, I think that's the route to winning the midterms. If not, look at the numbers. They went from being like 80 to 90% favorites in the Senate to being 50-50. That's not everyone's fault. Like, at a certain point, you got to take accountability, or else you're just Hillary Clinton. I did nothing wrong. It's everybody else's fault. Wait, why did I lose? That's what they're doing. So appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a beautiful day. I'm out. Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll be live maybe Monday or something, but have